Boss ma.
Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Morning.
Hey, good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing? How was your Halloween?
It was good.
Good.
We did a little trick-or-treating around the neighborhood, which was super fun.
Yes.
Super fun last night. How about you?
Fantastic. No, it was good. We
What'd you do?
did Webster's Estate.
Okay.
Super fun.
And that was the first time since pre-COVID, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it packed?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, everybody was
Okay.
out there. One guy actually passed me. He says, the last time I did this, I saw you right at this spot as well. So, a little bit of deja vu. But no, it was a good time. The kids really enjoyed themselves. I'm sure parents are going to be fighting for the next couple of days over the candy stash, trying to keep it away from the kids. But yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was a little
Okay.
disappointed that Miles's bag had only one Twizzler in it.
Oh,
And
really? Well, you
It
probably
seems
have
like
something
there's not a lot of
spare for
Twizzler
you.
action happening.
Because
This
Twizzler
Halloween.
is.
We went to a house
It's
that had
not,
a
Aaron. How
whole
dare you?
stash.
Ugh. I don't like Twizzlers.
I love
Yeah,
Twizzlers.
I don't really eat them either, but we do. Maybe I can spare you one or two.
Yeah,
There
great.
you go. They also do carry them at the store.
Not as cool, Aaron, when they're right in the bag in your house.
No, it's not. I saw this
For free.
video. I saw this video of this woman and her son trick or treating, and everyone has Ring camera, so you knew what's going on in front of your house. So it's like, please take one, and she was taking like a bunch from it,
Yeah.
and it was like multiple houses that got together and said no. And then she tried to blame it on our kid, and they're like, we watched you do it.
We have it on the
Yeah,
camera.
So that would be like you if they were Twizzlers. You'd be
It's-
like, it's not the same. I could have taken this one.
It's funny though, leading up to Halloween, we did a story on most people buy Halloween candy the day of. I was in the supermarket yesterday. Saw
Mhm.
so many people checking
Yeah.
out and buying just bags of candy. It's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Procrastinators.
See, that's the thing. If you live in like Webster's Estate and you don't want to be a part of it, you're like, the whole neighborhood
just
does
turn-
it. I have to.
Just turn the lights off.
Yeah, they turn. Yeah, there's an
Were there-
understanding that not everybody participates. I must say that a good number of people do participate. And it's nice to have like an entire neighborhood kind of into the vibe. But the
Mhm.
ones who don't, they just turn the lights off, and some of them have gates, so they close the gate, and that's a pretty good sign that they're not into the trick
Keep
or
it
treat.
moving.
Yeah. So let's kick off some news headlines this morning. Here's a story that you'll only hear on CMR and Hot 104. Hot 104. You guys have so many stations, I can barely keep up.
7.
On 106 this morning. On Kiss
Just look right
106.
here. Hold on.
0.1 FM.
Right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
That's all you got to
Kiss-
do. If you
Kiss
ever forget,
106.1.
right there.
So this is a bit of an interesting story, but an RCIPS officer has been arrested for an alleged theft and deception related offenses.
What?
Yeah,
Honey
Yeah.
child.
yes, honey Jill.
That's
So,
her catchphrase. Honey
oh my
child.
God, can I tell you, last night I ran into a little girl. I don't know how old she is, maybe 8 or 9 or something. And her
Mhm.
mom is like, this is Sandy from CMR. She's like, oh my God, like her mouth just opened up. And then her mom whispers in my ear, can you say honey child to her? And she was so tickled pink when I did.
That's so funny.
So big shout out to Tiz and her little one. She was dressed as a Egyptian princess. It was a really cute outfit. But yes, people really enjoy that phrase.
Yeah.
So, serving probationary police officer Andrew Benjamin, age 30, was arrested on October the 7th. Now, the backstory is, because the police never really tell you the backstory, but we got the backstory. So the backstory is that there's an elderly lady who been saving her money through, you guys know what a partner is. She throws a partner to get money. And she gave him.
Wait, what? I have no idea what.
Yeah, I
You
don't
don't
know
know you guys don't know what a partner is?
I know
this is something you got to know if you're going to live in the Cayman Islands now.
Partner is as
partner is like where people get together and everybody gets a hand and you put in, I mean, some of them can get really big, but say for simplicity, we all get together and we're going to put in $10 in the pot every single month and we do it for 10 months. And then each month, one person in the group gets the draw. So the idea is that there's a forced savings plan and it, you have to pay it because you get the banker, the person who collects the money, and then you pay to that person. And then when it's your turn, they pay out to you. So a lot of people, it's very, very common in the Caribbean, common in Jamaica, common in Cayman, they call it throwing a partner. And these people get together. Sometimes partners are into the thousands of dollars. It's a lot of money. And then, the person who normally the banker gets the first draw because that's considered the luckiest one when everybody's happy in the beginning. But, they seem to work for a lot of people. I know people who've done them for years. And it's just a way to make them save money and they get a lump sum and then they do something with it. So this poor woman had been saving up her little money. She'd throw in partners, whatever. And she had $20,000. Now, apparently she doesn't have a standard bank account or any way to really send that kind of money overseas without people going, well, where did $20,000 come from? Because partners are actually considered illegal in this jurisdiction because they're considered a form of gambling. So, if things go wrong, the police tell you they can't help you with a partner.
Sounds like charity to me. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
You're only getting what you're putting in. You're putting your money in.
Is that
I get it. It's not gambling.
Is that any different than putting money in an offering plate at church?
No.
Well, you actually get something back. You're not getting anything back from the church necessarily. So with this, you put your money in and you get it.
That's tied in.
You get a designated month.
This is something where it comes back around. But it's not gambling if they're not if everyone's like, no, it's just like borrowing money.
Yeah.
Technically.
Well, the police consider it gambling. So anyway. That's so that they don't have to do anything about it.
That's not gambling.
That's not gambling.
The story on the Mall Road is that a lady gave him about $20,000 US to send to Jamaica for her because she wasn't able to send it herself. And then her money never arrived in Jamaica. And there are allegations that he might have even given her a fake statement to say that, I deposited the money. So we'll keep an eye on this. That's just the Mall Road version for now, those details. But we do know that he's definitely been arrested and that the police investigation continues and they're actually preparing a file to send it to the DPP's office. So when he comes up for trial, we'll let you know how it goes.
All right.
He's a former police officer in Jamaica as well.
Aaron's my partner.
All right. I've got $2.
I don't have any.
Yeah.
I don't carry cash.
Put it in the pot. All right. Russia has added the Cayman Islands to an unfriendly list. I mean, this is so crazy.
Is it because of our
right?
show?
As though we care.
Probably because of our show. We've been slamming Putin.
They heard us. They found out with
he's listening to you every morning. Putin's like, I hear you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So on Sunday, this Russian cabinet website announced a new list. 11 more British overseas territories have been added to lists that support the sanctions, obviously, imposed by the UK and Russia. And as a result, we are all being added to this list. And I'm not sure what they're going to do to us now that we're on the list, but...
So does that mean the Russian oligarchs can't register their yachts here in the Cayman Islands anymore?
No, definitely not. That's been since the sanctions have been in place. Yeah. So last week we had a total of 28 migrants arriving in the Cayman Islands from Cuba. There's also a story that nobody's talking about. We've not even published it yet, but I might as well tell you guys. There has been an outbreak of dengue fever as a result of the Cuban migrants coming here. And so, unfortunately for people in the BRAC, what that has meant, especially for the CBC officers, is they have been really, really short-staffed. So last week on Friday, they had to send, commandeer and send additional officers to the BRAC because they couldn't even clear goods on the port. That's how bad it had gotten. There were no staff and everybody was in isolation because this whole dengue fever situation, and they were unable to clear goods on the port. So the BRACers are kind of like,
So wait, you can catch dengue fever? For some reason, sorry for my ignorance, I thought it was just mosquitoes.
No, well, I'm assuming you can get it once a person actually has it.
Really?
There has to be some sort of incubation. I mean, I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure that it's transmittable in
Interesting.
that way. Yeah. But anyway, they've been trying to isolate and keep them. Let me see. Is it transmitted through contact? This is a good
This
question.
is good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'll look it up.
Are we all Googling?
So I know. Thank the Lord for
Live radio,
Jesus.
live shows, folks.
I know Google's your friend.
The
Um,
bite of an infected mosquito.
Definitely for mosquitoes.
Mhm.
Any other vectors? So there are a couple other vectors. Infected person can later transmit the virus to healthy people by biting them. Oh no, that's a mosquito. Sorry.
Okay, I was
I was like an infected person. What the?
now we're talking about vampires.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Dengue
I think it's
cannot be
mosquito.
spread.
Oh, well, then it must.
Oh, okay. Yeah, some mosquitoes. But I mean, they still need people to, I guess, keep them in isolation and make sure they don't wander around.
So the migrants are bringing a
So-
bunch of mosquitoes with them?
Yeah, that's what now I'm worried.
I'm
How's
confused.
everyone getting dengue? Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you
I mean, I don't
thirsty?
know. Maybe it's the
We're gonna
voyage
have-
here
Yeah.
or
Maybe it's
something.
COVID.
But, so that's something to keep an eye out for. In regional news, political journalists, well-known politician and a journalist were killed over the weekend in Haiti as the situation there continues to escalate. So politician Eric Jean-Baptiste, 52 years old, along with his bodyguard who were traveling in an armored vehicle, were ambushed sometime after 9 p.m. on, I think it was Friday. And unfortunately, both him and the bodyguard lost their life, one bodyguard. And then they have a journalist from Lebanon Radio who was killed during a protest. And they believe that he was hit by a gas canister, but that remains under investigation. And unfortunately, the situation in Haiti continues to worsen, honestly, by the minute. And, there are external forces, the US, Canada, even CARICOM made a statement some days back about the situation, and they're all trying to figure out how to help with military intervention being the last resort. They don't really want to go in there from a military perspective because it has never worked in the past. I'm sure they realize it's not going to work now. But over 100,000 people are being displaced in Haiti at the moment. It's a very, very sad situation. And the gangs have taken over to the point where they're actually controlling the ports in Haiti, like the seaports and everything. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, very. Taste of Cayman is back next year. So get your belly ready.
Okay.
They returned after COVID enforced hiatus. It's going to be held on May the 13th. Oh my goodness. So make sure that you mark your calendar for this fun-filled event. It's always a good time.
All righty.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Sandy, we'll catch your show right now on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll see you tomorrow for Wednesday headlines. Have a good one.
Absolutely. You guys have a good one.
Our segment was
Good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing? Let's go ahead and get the show kicked off.
Peppermint, sorrel, ginger, beaver grass, or English. Get it ready. Your morning tea just got hotter.
Ooh, honey child.
On the cold, hard truth. Bobo 89.1 and Cayman's #1 talk show are bringing you morning talk like no one else. Monday Rewind, Impact Wednesdays, Caribbean Connections, and much more. Don't miss a beat with what's happening in the local community. Just keep sipping your tea.
What a mess.
Here's your host, live and direct from the Cayman Islands, Sandy Hill.
All right. Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Cold Hard Truth. So happy to be here. How are you guys doing? How was your Halloween? Hopefully you got lots and lots of candy for the kids. We did a little bit of haunted house time. Big shout out, by the way, to Home Gas. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the haunted house later on. But big shout out to Home Gas. They were super, super gracious to allow Gianna and I, as you know, she's only 6 years old, but she was convinced that she could handle a haunted house. But we watered it down for her. We went before nightfall, and also nobody was jumping out and scaring her. It was like we just looked at some of this stuff, but I think she was still pretty scared. I noticed last night her sleep was not as peaceful as it might have been the night before. Anyway, folks, it was a good time and a really good event for the NPOs that they support through that event. So Kale, is it Kale or Kyle? Good morning to you. Marshall's got it locked. Tommy is joining us, of course. Olivia's here. Miss Ruby, good morning. Almost 200 people on the live. We got Robert here as well. Miss Vernita, how are you feeling? I know you were a little bit under the weather lately. Melita's here. Good morning to Miss Bonnie from East End. Miss Beulah's also got it locked. Abba says, Buenos dias, Sandy. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy muy bien, gracias. Evelyn, right here from Savannah, Newlands area. Miss Betty is also here. We got Debbie. Aliana from Windsor Park. We've got Miss Marjorie from West Bay. She says, put the money in your bank account. Not everybody has a bank account, Miss Marjorie, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We've got guests. Remember, today's Tuesday. So it is Rundown Tuesday with Health City. So we are tickled pink to have them on the program. Wee, good morning to you. Carla, so nice to see you. Miss Joy, Felicia, Sonia, and Barbara. Some of our regular suspects all in the house and all have it locked here on Cayman Mall Road. And there's Anne. Good morning to the beautiful Anne. How are you? Suzette says, good morning from Jamaica. Thank you for joining us all over the beautiful Caribbean and beyond. So, yes, Hero Bishop is coming in. Orlando is here, he says. Good morning to Andrea. How are you? So we're going to be talking this morning with the good folks over at Health City about Lung Cancer Awareness Month. So, a lot of months have different focus areas, wellness and health that they kind of focus on. And of course, today is November the 1st. Can you guys believe it? It's a brand new month. And we are going to be speaking with Dr. Archita Joshi. I think that's how it's pronounced. But first, let's go ahead and bring in Ben Mead, who's part of the marketing team over there at Health City. So good morning, Ben. How are you?
Good morning, Sandra, and to your entire audience. You gave me a bigger scare than Halloween when you said it's November already. And I'm like, where did the year go by? It's one of those things where I'm doing my math. I'm like, as a parent, it's Christmas shopping and then back to school in January. It doesn't get much scarier. We don't need Halloween for us parents. But on the health front, we don't need to be as scared because we have some great friends at Health City who can take very good care of us.
Absolutely. And Ben, I must say that you're looking good. I mean, Ben, I don't know. I can't remember the last time you were on, but listen, Ben has been on a bit of a health kick. And how much weight have you lost now, Ben? 35, 40 pounds?
Yeah, at least 35 over the past couple of years.
So he's been
doing
doing
some of it naturally, doing some of it otherwise.
Yes, wonderful.
I looked in the mirror one day and said, you can't be happy with what you're looking at.
Yes.
And kicked off a few other things along the way. Speaking of which, we should have that video of yours sitting down. It's been sitting with Jamala for a bit. I want people to see your experience at Health City because when they do see it, what they will see is not a show that we put on for you. Was we took you through the steps, got you your executive health, got you checked out, know that you'll be coming back. But I just wanted to say that in case the regular superstar is back in the chair and going through that, I was on hand and I know it was an authentic experience for you.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have never had a more thorough examination ever in my life, but it was really, really good because, kind of getting to my age now, I still consider myself middle age. And I know that I need to work on certain things, and the numbers and the experts, the physicians confirmed what I kind of already knew. And there were a couple, things that I didn't know that I'm like, okay, now I've got to kind of focus on this. So when it comes to your health, listen, you can't put a price tag on it, folks. Your health is everything. And without that, nothing else really matters, to be honest. So it's important to have, good seasoned professionals who are, well-trained and have the proper bedside manners and can just walk you through all of these things, not ever scaring you. I felt like everybody was just so calm and, just giving me the information that I need. And okay, these are the choices that you need to be making, some better choices to live as long as possible. And more importantly, as healthy as possible. So we've got Richard in the house. Good morning, Richard, saying that he's happy. It's the first day of Kunk season. Lizette and Ingrid is also here, says, good morning, Ben. And Miss Sonia saying a big shout out to Felicia. So don't forget, folks, we do have the phone lines open. If you have any questions for Health City, they're going to be here for about the next hour or so. 936 Bobo is the telephone number. That's 936-2626. feel free to call in at any time. Our focus is going to be in relation to Lung Cancer Awareness Month. So let's go ahead and bring in Dr. Archita into the studio now with us. Good morning, Dr. Archita. How are you? You've got yourself muted. There you go.
Yes, morning, Sandra. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good. So it's so nice to see you. Now, Dr. Archita, I was having a look this morning at your credentials. And anytime I look at, really anybody from Health City, I feel like it's a who's who of the medical profession. But Dr. Archita Joshi is no exception to that rule. She is a consultant in pulmonology, critical care, and sleep medicine, which is very interesting. I'm so interested in that one for myself, at Health City. And she has been associated with this field for over 15 years now. She also heads the infection control department at the Cayman Islands, at Health City, my apologies, Cayman Islands. And she's worked in leading corporate hospitals in India and has been part of the Health City Cayman Islands team since its inception in 2014. So besides her core interests in pulmonology and critical care, she's also certified international sleep disorder specialist. Ben, I feel like we need to have a show on that. Can we do something on that? Because a lot of it.
Certainly, yes.
Yes. I'm begging him. I'm like, oh, I need to talk to her about a few things, I feel like.
If we could squeeze Dr. Archita away again, because she is so busy, but I know she's also keen on getting the right information to us. That's something we'll make a note of, that you particularly are excited about talking about. And
yes.
if we get
if I can't get enough, at least I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
She holds a European diploma in respiratory medicine and is a fellow of the American College of Chest Physicians. So needless to say, when it comes to any sort of respiratory issues, she's part of the European Respiratory Society. She is the expert, folks, to go to. So that is just some of her accolades and credentials. So Dr. Archita, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I believe this is your first time on the program. So warm CMR welcome to you.
Thank you so much. Yes, it is my first time with you.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And why is it important for people to be aware of their lung health?
Yeah. So, well, that's a very, very, a deep question. Why is it important for people to be aware of their lung health? Because lung is a really vital organ. Focus has always been on things like the heart or the brain, but we can't forget that lungs are equally important. Unless lungs are functioning well, your heart or any organ of your body really cannot be oxygenated or can't function well. And breathing is something you do several times in a minute without even realizing it. And we take it so much for granted, and never really pay attention to what we are breathing in and how we are dealing with our, what we're doing with our lung capacity. So I feel it's extremely important that we focus on lung health. And our focus this month, the month of November, is usually a Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And our focus this month is to make people aware of, the signs and symptoms or the risk factors for lung cancer. Unfortunately, I mean, this is one of the most common forms of cancer. I think the second most common form of cancer, and one of the leading causes of cancer deaths worldwide. And yet, it's usually always diagnosed late, unfortunately. So there is so much of focus on breast cancer. There's so much of focus on colon cancer. You do routine checks. And yet, for a cancer which is the leading cause of cancer death, we don't talk much about, what we can do about it and who's at risk. So I think the point here is that we are all aware that if you are a high-risk individual, screening is available for lung cancer as well.
Yes. So let's talk about, I mean, you mentioned that obviously everyone needs to breathe. And, I think I suppose there are lots of organs that we kind of forget how important they are, but definitely, the lungs play such a critical function, healthy lungs, in the quality of our life. And it's only when you have, a lung issue or breathing issues, even if you get sick and you get a lung infection or, you've got fluid on the lungs, that you kind of appreciate how much your lungs just sit there and do what they need to do to, make your life as wonderful as it is. But what do you think can be done? It seems like we need more education around just lung health and awareness. And obviously, as you said, it is the number one cancer that's diagnosed in the US, for example. So, this is an important topic, I think, for everyone to be paying attention to.
That's right. So what you can do to keep your lungs healthy, other than, of course, watching what you're breathing in, is to exercise regularly to make sure that you avoid inhalants which can be harmful, particularly cigarette smoke or any form of smoke for that matter. Because the moment I say cigarette smoke, people say, oh, well, then vaping should be fine or marijuana should be fine. But any form of smoke or any form of polluted air, which is or indoor pollution where you're burning something indoor and you're getting exposed to it. I mean, in third world countries, that's an issue as well. So you may have never smoked, but you're inhaling, indoor fumes from burning maybe wood fires or whatnot, and you can get exposed to this and harm your lungs. So basically, the lung health really depends on what you're doing with yourself. So how you eat, how you exercise, and of course what you breathe. So it's extremely important that we pay in mind, what we are doing and not take these things for granted. Just to look cool in society, to keep it with our peers that smoking is something to do, going to a hookah bar is something to do, or these days there's this culture of e-cigarettes and vaping, and just to feel good or appear good. We are usually doing an immense amount of damage to the airways and the lungs. So I think that's important to remember and to keep in mind.
So let's talk about a few of these things, because I think, as you said, they've become so normalized that we do them oftentimes without even really thinking about it. So I mean, obviously we know smoking is not good for your health. There's nothing about smoking that's good for your health. Some years ago, I'm sometimes surprised at how people don't understand the ills of certain things that we do in our lives. So smoking obviously is something that causes it's associated with all sorts of cancers and, hardening of the arteries. So there's heart disease concerns and other things. But there was a friend of mine who said that there was a friend of hers that had breast cancer, for example. And she said, well, you're a smoker, maybe you should stop smoking. And the friend told her, oh, no, smoking does not cause cancer. And I was like, what? Who in their right mind could make such a statement? And furthermore, who in their right mind could believe such a statement? But definitely is smoking the number one cause of lung cancer and, lung-related issues.
True.
Yeah.
So smoking increases risk of lung cancer by 9 times more than an individual who has never smoked.
Wow.
So that says it all. I think I don't think we need to say anymore.
Oh, wow. That's pretty crazy. So at least 9 times. Now we've come up with we've got our first caller already this morning. So let's go ahead and grab this call. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I was just wondering if the doctor could talk about candles and plug-in, like Glade plug-in.
Thank you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's a good question. And I was getting there because I am a candle. I don't burn them anymore. And I do soy candles, trying to be healthier. But I put them on, and of course it's still emitting, I'm sure, something in the air. But I do use the heating, what do you call them? The little heating pads or whatever. Right? So candle warmers, that's what they're properly called. How bad is burning candles or using air fresheners in your home?
Well, there's not much, studied data on this to give me you facts and figures, really. But the chemicals that are emitted, the smoke is usually limited with most, candles which are used for domestic purposes, obviously. But the chemicals which are produced as a result of burning these candles, we are assuming you're not going to be inhaling them directly or in very close proximity.
Right.
They may potentially cause some harm if you're in a very closed environment or in very close proximity. But really, there's not much data to say or prove that it leads to airway irritation or cancers. At least we don't have information right now.
Right.
But for certain individuals who are sensitive to strong smells or even to small amounts of smoke, say an individual who has asthma, they may experience discomfort or difficulty in breathing on exposure to these. So obviously in such individuals it's advisable to avoid, to not use scented candles or to be in a room where there's an air freshener which has been sprayed. However, there's very limited data, and I can only talk about science that's available for us to, has been researched and we can understand about it. There's limited data to say that it can increase lung cancer risk or it can lead to something like COPD or long-term airway injury.
Yes. Okay. Well, that was an excellent question, and thank you so much to that caller for that, because I was wondering the exact same thing. So I have, like I said, I've made some sort of changes. So I only do soy candles for that purpose, and I do keep them in a candle warmer as opposed to burning the wick, because I feel like that's not a direct burn, so it's probably a little bit safer. But excellent question. So again, 936-2626. If you have any questions for the good doctor this morning, please feel free to give us a call. So we were talking about lung cancer. Smoking has been a bit of a pariah for a really long time. So a lot of legislation like no smoking indoors. There's hardly anywhere that you can go now. Some years ago, obviously, the Cayman Islands passed our anti-smoking legislation. You can't go to most restaurants and sit down and smoke anymore unless it's like an outdoor space and so far from the actual establishment. But, you still find that people will smoke here and there. But what I found has really picked up in more recent years is vaping. So can we talk a little bit about vaping and any known health risk as it relates to vaping? Now, obviously, there was a big scare, some years ago when vaping was really hitting the market. And I think they've kind of identified what was causing those specific issues. But vaping generally, is it a good idea? And what can you tell us about it?
If you're going to ask me if it's a good idea, the answer is no.
Yes.
Well, vaping is just something new on the market. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's any less harmful. It's just that we know less about it.
Right.
So vaping of any form, with nicotine, without nicotine, is basically heating or burning chemicals, mostly, polyhydrogenated carbons or other flavoring agents or other chemicals which are actually burnt or heated up, and you're inhaling that. Now, quite a few of these are already known to produce substances which can be carcinogenic. Now, we haven't proven a linear relationship that you inhale this and it leads to cancer, but we know that these substances are carcinogenic. And usually the effects of anything that you consume in your body to produce a cancer takes years, if not decades, right? And so we are going to probably find out the effects of vaping and e-cigarette use or juuling or whatever else only after a few decades. And the enormous effect that it would have on the whole society or in generally the epidemiological data, as we say, to see what large-scale effect it has had on individuals. And the sad and unfortunate part of it is it's not regulated. So it's very easy for school children and adolescents and teenagers to consume this. So we probably, as a healthcare community, as a community of lung physicians, we are very worried that we are probably going to start seeing a spate of lung cancers or other lung-related diseases sooner in life in individuals. Right now, we talk about, and we'll talk about it when we are talking about screening for lung cancer, we look for lung cancer risks in people who are beyond a certain age. But with this kind of use starting early in life, exposure to these chemicals may have effect on these younger individuals who started early in life, sooner. We just don't know about it because it's only been around for about a decade or over a decade now.
Right.
And we don't have that much information. Plus, the industry is so diverse. There's no regulation as to who puts in what kind of a flavoring agent or what kind of chemical is used in one product may not be the same as the other. And it's very difficult to monitor the effects of these chemicals then on a large scale to make sure to be able to assess scientifically what impact they have on the lung. But there's already information, from human studies, from animal models that these smoking or e-cigarettes or vaping does cause harm to the lung and the heart, even in the short term. So there have been reports, of course, you already mentioned that in 2019, where we had, cases of acute lung injury because of vaping. And we assume that we've identified what was causing it, but you never know if there's another next chemical which can cause the same thing. And it's led to deaths in young people. We just don't want to see that happening.
Right.
Yeah, and Sandra, one of the things we do have quite often and available to the public, smoking cessation programs where we could give further information on that. But for Lung Cancer Month, I think what Dr. Archita can quite competently speak about is what we're looking to do with a screening program that we have that impacts long-term or former long-term smokers. And we do know we have a section of the population who did it quite frequently when we had our guys going to sea. That was something they did to pass time quite a lot, or doing whatever, working in the fields, a little bit of agriculture was available on island, or maybe even being out on the boats, fishing. So I think there is a particular demographic of people who I think Dr. Archita can look out for this month. Not that she can't look out for the others, but who may not look at coming in, who we'd love to have the opportunity to hear what Dr. Archita has to say about some of these screenings that we can do, particularly our low-dose CT screening, which can provide some assistance to the community, where we see people coming in when, just like you, hopefully they walk through our doors when they're healthy, they leave our doors healthy, or if they're not leaving knowing that they're fully healthy, they can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that we've identified an issue and can get that helped, sorted out early, and have a plan worked on that. And that's something Dr. Archita, in her capacity as one of the top pulmonologists anywhere around, can talk to you about, where we're doing this low dose CT cancer screening.
Yes, and we do have a few questions as well that are definitely coming in. One other quick question about vaping. Is there any concern? Because I've noticed that because it's, I guess, odorless and whatever, that there are a lot of people who do it way more often because now they're indoors and they can do it without offending people with the cigarette smoke. So they actually tend to use it more, which is quite interesting. And they're using it around children and around other parties. Is there such a thing as secondhand or third hand, like how you have with regular cigarette smoke, vaping concerns?
Well, right now we don't know. Like I said, we don't have enough data to say if environmental exposure to or secondhand exposure to vaping fumes can cause harm. But logically, yes, it could. But and I agree with you, Sandra. The use is more frequent. The use is more uninhibited because there is a myth, and the way these cigarettes or e-cigarettes or vapes are marketed is that this is safe or safer than cigarette smoking. So people tend to overuse or tend to more frequently use, e-cigarettes or vapes or any other such products, which then gives them a false sense of security. The display boxes, perhaps I've never really looked at an e-cigarette display box, but probably doesn't warn you of those cancer risks like a cigarette pack would. So you tend to have this security in your mind saying, I'm doing something safe. It's something cool to do. I'm not really offending anybody. Nobody's going to notice me, and doing this because I'm doing it quietly in one corner. It doesn't smell. But yes, that's the logic. And people are doing it when they're younger. So there are school kids who are doing it, and it's scary.
Yeah. So we do have Ruby who is here in the chat, and Ruby says, I don't smoke because it's cool. I smoke because it helps me manage stressful situations. So when we talk about smoking cessation, I mean, obviously there are people who will smoke for all sorts of different reasons. Some people say it helps them keep their weight under control. Ruby says for her, it's about managing her stress. What are some of the recommendations for people who wish to smoke, but, say that they have these other sort of concerns if they give up smoking?
Well, stress can be managed in many ways. I always say this to my patients, and I'm sure it may sound very bookish, but I still want to reiterate this. Smoking may take away your stress for a few minutes, few hours, but it's going to add a lifetime of stress with illness and other health concerns. So there are many other ways of dealing with stress, from seeing a therapist to taking medications to probably changing your outlook to life, or probably adding exercise, which gives you positive energy or positive thoughts to your lifestyle. So there are many ways of dealing with it, and this is really in the scope of discussion. And when we're talking about a smoking cessation program, however, definitely, picking up a cigarette to get rid of your stress is really getting you into more stress in the future. I want people to realize that, you may be stress busting for a few hours, but you're probably going to end up regretting this when it starts affecting your health. And that would be far more expensive than buying a pack of cigarettes, or far more stressful than dealing with, somebody bickering with you, or work related stress, or financial stress, or emotional stress. So not being able to breathe is a terrible stress, believe me. Yeah. So that's just my way of saying it, of course.
Yes. And Ruby says that if doctors had a more approachable manner towards smokers, that more people would be inclined to come and see doctors, as they wouldn't feel like they're being judged. So tell us a little bit then about, what specifically you offer, and kind of what your approach is, maybe to someone, like Ruby, who is a smoker, when she comes to see you. And I think Ruby is right. I mean, I judge smokers all the time.
Yes.
I'm like, why are you smoking? You're killing yourself. So maybe a softer approach for someone like Ruby might actually help. You sound like you have a very calming voice.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I hope I'm not putting people to sleep then.
No, Dr. Archita, you're just like, come and see me. We can discuss it.
No, and the thing is, before Dr. Archita even gets in, I was explaining to someone the other day, the good thing about having somebody like Dr. Archita, she lays out the facts for you.
Yes.
And she does not come across very
As
judgmental
and preachy,
in her consultation. So Miss Ruby could rest assured that if she were to see somebody like Dr. Archita, very patient-centric. It's not about judging you. It's the fact that if you've come in and looking for change, they can help you navigate those changes. Yeah, we all know we arch our backs when it's something that society has turned and said, why are you doing this? It's not our job to judge you at Health City, because then if we naturally put up a wall between the health provider and the patient, then it becomes a lot more difficult to get even further more information. So that's something I would like people to understand. In your dealings with Dr. Archita, she comes across as quite warming, quite understanding, and solution-oriented, rather than sitting there rapping you on the knuckles for half an hour. Like a grandmother would do. She's more like a loving aunt who comes by and tries to help you work through a problem.
Thanks, Ben. You just made me feel a lot older than I am. I'm just joking. Well, I am.
Aunts are getting younger and younger these days, Dr. Archita. At least I didn't call you the grandmother.
All right. No, I agree. And just to this point, see, we are all humans, and we have our own opinions in mind. But remember, as physicians or as doctors, we are all under, some kind of a thing called a Hippocratic oath. We never judge individuals. We may have our opinions about you shouldn't be smoking, or may come across sometimes sternly. And I say this for the entire medical community. I'm not trying to defend or put a point in case, but, we treat the rich or the poor, or a politician or a common man, or a billionaire and a common man, about the same way. So it's not like we are going to distinguish or kind of give you a different treatment if you're a smoker, or talk to you differently if you're a smoker versus a non-smoker. So we're not in a position to judge anybody. Yes, of course, sometimes, some of my patients will vouch for it. I may reprimand you if you're not doing the right thing, despite knowing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. But yes, I mean, the idea is you should know your facts. You should know what you're looking at. You should know where you are at with your health. And, hence you should be open to discussion with any physician. But definitely, I'm happy to have this discussion if somebody's interested in stopping to smoke as well. So that's something they can come and discuss as well. We can screen them for their lung health. If they have respiratory issues, we can deal with them, and then talk about simultaneously stopping to smoke, and they can join a program to stop smoking, or they can look at alternatives, or even see a psychiatrist. There are many ways of going about, or getting medications for it. Yes. So the point is, smoking does increase risk of cancer, and lung cancer particularly, and of course many other cancers, as we've already mentioned, Sandra. And we, I think, should probably focus on who needs to be screened when we're talking about lung cancer screening.
Yes.
Because not everybody not a teenager who smoked for 5 years, or a young adult who's just smoked and is thinking, oh, should I quit or should I not? Let me screen myself for lung cancer. Well, I want you to understand that there are certain risks and benefits. When we're screening somebody, it's usually when they're not really very symptomatic, but have the risk factors, and we're looking for cancer to be able to identify it early. Unfortunately, lung cancer does not give a lot of symptoms till it's too late. So most people who are diagnosed, a bulk, maybe around 70% of people who are diagnosed are actually diagnosed when they're in an advanced stage of cancer, like a stage 3 or a stage 4 cancer, which then doesn't make it amenable to cure. We can't get rid of this cancer. We can only palliate symptoms or prolong life or reduce the cancer burden, and then not end up giving them a curative or a success rate of, curative surgery, or for that matter, giving them a good, healthy, meaningful life. So, as we know, as the stage of the cancer increases, mortality increases, morbidity, or the suffering of the individual increases. So we want to identify, if at all the high risk individual has developed a cancer, we want to be able to identify it sooner, so we can intervene sooner, and then probably give them a better outcome, even if they have developed a cancer. So that's what lung cancer screening is meant for. And an ideal candidate who fits into a lung cancer screening program is an individual who's between 50 and 80 years of age, who's been a smoker for a reasonable amount of time. So usually the inclusion criteria is what we know as a 20-pack year history of smoking. So people who've smoked an equivalent of 1 pack, a 20 cigarette pack a day for about 20 years, that's a 20-pack year. So you can, if you've been smoking for 40 years, but you smoke 10 a day, well, you still are a 20-pack year smoker, right? And people who continue to smoke at present, or who have quit within less than 15 years. These are individuals who should get themselves screened for lung cancer. And the benefit in a younger population or a much older population may not be that great. But yes, if these individuals have symptoms, or are concerned for some reason or the other, or had an abnormal X-ray, and they've been advised a scan, yes, they can get screened for lung cancer.
Very good. All right, folks. So 936-2626 is the telephone number if you have any questions. So Ruby also says, if you have essential oil diffusers, would they have the same impact as vaping? Well, obviously you're not inhaling diffusers in the same way, right? So kind of like the candles, I would think.
Yes, not in as much of close proximity, not as frequent. So, vaping is something you're inhaling directly. So or for that matter, cigarettes is something you're inhaling directly. So I want you to understand it's more addictive. They add nicotine. Most of the vapes have nicotine in it. And so you're going to crave for it more often and consume it more often than you're going to put on a diffuser in your home.
All right, we do have a question. The person was said to please ask him about vaping, which we have, and smoking cigars. Sometimes the excuse is that they're not inhaling the smoke of the cigars like they do a cigarette. Ooh, so what about cigars? A lot of men think it's very macho to smoke cigars. It's a thing.
Well, I think this is a myth that you don't really inhale, or you're not inhaling the smoke from the cigar. You are. It's all around you. So you are going to be breathing that same air. And in fact, cigars are definitely more potent than cigarettes. So, a Cuban cigar could be, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the expert on the amount of tobacco that's put into these products, but it's equivalent to almost smoking 3 to 4 cigarettes. Yeah.
Wow.
So so the amount of tobacco, the size of the product itself, it is significant. So I'm not going to say that you're not inhaling tobacco if you're smoking a cigar. Yeah, that's a myth.
Well, that's a myth we can now dispel, folks. So very, very interesting to hear that. We've got Shannon in the house. Shannon says, hi, my doctor. Love you, Dr. Archita. I'm so blessed to have you in my life, but you already know that.
Thanks, Shannon. You're a sweetheart.
And of course, Shannon has shared a little bit here in the show that she is a lung patient. She has a lung illness that, she has to think about all the time, really, in terms of her overall health. So Ruby's asking about popcorn lung that I think you get from vaping. What exactly is popcorn lung?
Popcorn lung is a layman term for something we know as bronchiolitis. It's an inflammation of the small breathing passages that, You must, I mean, just to make people understand and to lay it out very simply, when we talk about lungs, really, we are talking about two essential components, or rather three essential components of the lung. One is the airway, which is the breathing passage, which takes down the air, from when you're breathing in from the top to various branches which then lead into the air sacs, which is what we commonly refer to as the lungs. So the lungs comprise of the airways and the lung sacs, the air sacs, and of course the blood vessels which absorb the oxygen and the fine fabric which holds everything together. So the airways are what get inflamed when you're smoking or inhaling more commonly than the lung itself. But of course the lung also undergoes injury. So the fine breathing tubes, which are towards the last part of the breathing passage or the tree that is taking the air into the lungs, is what gets inflamed most of the time, especially with vaping. And that leads to an inflammation of the bronchioles called bronchiolitis, and of course to lung injury as well. These are integral. You can't really see them, it's all microscopic. So I want you to understand, if one is inflamed, the other is also, perhaps, and that's what is commonly referred to as popcorn lung. Yeah. Wow. And this is something we've seen in people who have developed what we know as e-cigarette related or vaping related acute lung injury. There was a term devised for it called EVALI, or in common terms, it's popcorn lung.
All right, we do have a caller to the program. Good morning, caller, and welcome to Rundown Tuesdays with Health City.
Morning.
Morning.
It's a wonderful topic that you have today. And sometimes when people think about lung cancer, and I talk about the subject, the question that I often get, I guess the whole country knows that my wife died from lung cancer, is that they normally ask, well, did she smoke? And the point that I want to make is that you don't have to smoke to get lung cancer.
Right.
At all.
That's true.
Not at all. If you think that if you're living the cleanest possible life that you could live, you could still get lung cancer. And the other thing is, sorry about this, but ambulance coming by. Is that the ambulance is stopped right next to me?
Okay.
The thing is that if you can smell something, it's going into your lungs. Yes. And so you should always ask yourself, what is this thing that I'm smelling made of? And should I be smelling it? And you should investigate if you should continue to expose yourself to this thing that you're smelling, even if you think it's a pleasant smell. Because you don't have to smoke to get lung cancer.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Denny. Thank you. And thanks to Denny for being an advocate. I mean, obviously he lost his wife, Lydia, to lung cancer at what we would consider a very young age. So I think it's important, Dr. Archita, as Denny says, not everyone who gets lung cancer necessarily smoked.
That's true.
Sometimes it's also secondhand. And, many years ago, I read about something called third-hand exposure, which I did not even know what that is. But smoking of any kind, I mean, you walk into a cigar bar, even when there's no one in there, you kind of get an idea of it seeps into everything. The soot, actually, the physical soot is in carpets and on furniture and, just on everything. So smoking around children, I know that is something that was often done many years ago without even thinking twice about it. Exposing, other people to second and this third-hand smoke. So some parents will go outside and the smoke is still filtering inside the house, or they won't smoke, when the children are there, but not recognizing that there's still some ill effects to even third-hand smoke when the children are in that environment that they're still picking up on. But what are some other causes other than, something like smoking when it comes to lung cancer? Are there just some anomalies for people who just get it and they don't have any known environmental factors, so they might not have been exposed to, asbestos or anything else that we know is a contributor of lung cancers and lung diseases? Is there just Sometimes people just get it as a fluke.
That's true. Yes. So you can have cancer developing de novo in individuals who've not been, or at least have not been known to be exposed to anything that we consider carcinogenic. It's not uncommon, especially in women, to have lung cancers in non-smokers as well. And well, the mechanism could be like development of any other cancer. It is just mutagenesis. You have certain mutation in the body. It leads to proliferation of, abnormal proliferation of the cells, and it leads to development of lung cancer. And these cancers usually have slightly different characteristics, and they're more amenable sometimes in some individuals to certain oral medications. So, I mean, I don't want to go into the details, but yes, lung cancers can develop in non-smokers. But we can't really advocate lung cancer screening for people who are not at high risk. Remember, I just told you, screening is something you're doing in a community to identify individuals that are at high risk. There are always outliers. There are always going to be individuals who may still develop lung cancer without having the risk factor for it. But we can't subject them to an annual screening CT scan and say, well, just because you're alive, you can develop a lung cancer, and so do a screening.
Right.
No. But yes, there's always a role for early identification of symptoms. So somebody who's developing a nagging cough, it just doesn't go away, or has a chronic cough for that matter, or is coughing up blood, or is having pains in the chest which seem abnormal, which are not going away, or worsen when you take a deep breath, or if you've developed, weight loss, or loss of appetite, or just generally don't feel well. You feel that you're short of breath. You had better exercise capacity earlier, and now you're more increasingly feeling short of breath. It may not necessarily be a cancer, but it's something that you must pay attention to. And not a lot of us take this for granted. Oh, I'm just putting on weight. I'm just unfit, and so I'm not doing well. But if this is a persistent symptom or a consistent symptom, I recommend that we definitely address it. Yeah, and get it checked by your doctor. It could be a primary care doctor. You could actually, if you have a chronic symptom, you can come and see me. It doesn't matter, but do get it to medical attention.
Yes. So just a little snippet for the person who was asking about cigars versus cigarettes. So do keep in mind that both products contain tobacco. The cigar is actually wrapped in a tobacco leaf or material containing tobacco, but cigarettes are wrapped in paper or material that does not contain tobacco. So when you have your husband trying to justify why he continues smoking cigars, this is something to think about. Cigars tend to be unfiltered, while most cigarettes have filtered ends, and cigars are usually bigger and thicker than cigarettes and last longer when smoked and contain more tobacco. Now, here's a little bit of information about nicotine. It says that there's a big difference in the amount of nicotine in each. A cigar has about 1 to 200 milligrams of nicotine, and cigarettes average about 8 milligrams. That means that smoking one cigar can have as much nicotine or more than a pack of unfiltered cigarettes. Wow. I think that kind of brings it home when you talk about the dangers of cigar smoking as well. And then it talked about the different methods of how it's consumed, because it's inhaled normally through the mouth as opposed to being inhaled in the traditional way that a cigarette does. But yes, still as deadly and potentially even more so. So we have a question from Michael. Michael wants to know, what about smoking weed? And I think she said this at the beginning of the show, smoking anything is not going to be healthy, but let's talk about weed, marijuana, cannabis, any other names that it might be known as. Is it healthy?
No.
Okay.
We've already established that smoking anything is not healthy for you. It cannot be. Whether marijuana is beneficial to your health, well, that's a very debatable topic, and I think the topic would go on forever. But smoking it is definitely deleterious to your lung health, and it can have almost the same effects as a cigarette to your lungs. It has been a known risk factor for developing emphysema or COPD. Whether it relates to lung cancer risk equivalently, again, this is not a regulated industry. We don't know about how different people smoke weed. And to have a cross-sectional study to say, these many people who smoke weed will develop cancer is difficult to say, right? Tobacco smoke is just more studied. Weed is not something which is available commercially to smoke. So how much what somebody puts into, their whatever, when you roll your marijuana or what you put into your bong, if you add any tobacco to it, there's no standard way to compare it, right? So we can't really say this is the long-term risk. We can't study that, people who've consumed this many a day would have, because there's no standardization. So to talk about lung cancer risk is a little difficult in terms of marijuana smoke. But intuitively, I would feel smoking anything, it is leading to damage to your lungs. So it definitely, we know about COPD risk for sure. I'm not able to put a number to how many times it increases your lung cancer risk if you're smoking weed. Yes. But I would recommend against using smoked marijuana or any otherwise.
Yes.
Unless medically indicated.
Yeah. So lung cells, just reading a bit of information here about other effects of smoking marijuana, even if you're not, thinking that lung cancer is an absolute. Lung cells have strong capabilities to respond to injuries. So everything from, cell death, airway inflammation, lung fibrosis, and permanent changes to the cell, the DNA cell, and of course, cancer are all possibilities. So you do have short-term as well as long-term responses from smoking anything, e-cigarettes, regular cigarettes, marijuana, cigars, and even water pipes. So, folks, this is all something to keep in mind. All right. Thank you, Michael, for that question. Ms. Dean says smoking to ease stress is setting the stage for the greatest stress later down the road. KK says that this is the best doctor, my mom's doctor. She treated my mother well and saved her life. Thank you.
It's very kind.
Shannon says, if you're telling yourself a lie, if you think that smoking helps, you're stressed. That's a facade. Good morning to Val. Val says, Ruby, make sure that you stock up on cigs for the stress of learning you have lung cancer. Oh my goodness. Should that occur? KK says, yes, she's very helpful again to Dr. Archita. Understanding and calm with her work. Trust me, I can speak on it. Amazing doctor. Aw. So nice. Dean weighing in. Oh, yes, we read that one already. Ruby says, I've been smoking since I was 12. Oh, my goodness, Ruby. And I'm now 26. So would you advise me to get screened? No, we'd advise you to probably quit smoking. So tell us what happens when people stop smoking, because the body has an amazing ability to repair itself. And, she's only 26 years old, which is still very, very young, Ruby. If she were to quit smoking now, although she's been smoking since she was 12, what can the lungs and the body do to try to repair itself?
Well, the body is a resilient being and definitely does try to repair and heal whatever it can. A lot of times, smoking-related damage, though, does leave behind long-term effects on the breathing passages. However, quitting to smoke definitely leads to an improvement both in cardiac parameters and respiratory parameters, reduces the resistance of flow of air through the breathing passages, reduces your carbon monoxide levels in the body. It will do a lot of things in the short term. Over a period of time, since we're talking about lung cancer, if people who have quit smoking for at least about 15 years or so, their lung cancer risk does come down significantly, almost to that of a non-smoker. But of course, there are many other factors involved in cancer mutagenesis as well. So by the time people have smoked for a long time and have now quit for a long time, they may still be aging, and that can also, of course, increase their risk, or they may have been exposed to more than just cigarette smoke, and which again increases their cancer risk. So it doesn't eliminate the risk, but yes, it definitely comes down over a period of time. I used to, there are many effects that you can have a timeline. You can look it up at any time, where if you quit smoking, you start seeing the benefits of stopping to smoke within a few minutes, few hours, few days, few weeks, months, so there's a timeline, as to what gets better when. But definitely lung cancer risk does come down after you've quit for 15 years.
But Dr.
All right, we do have another call in the program. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, doctor.
Morning.
Yes, sir. Morning.
All right, a question. Do the marijuana itself have any good effect for if somebody have asthma? And do we have any benefit if somebody is hyperactive? It can calm somebody down, and any particles in the marijuana itself can help with the asthma.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I will hang up and listen to you.
Yes, no problem. Thank you so much. So, smoking marijuana, would that help with someone who has asthma?
No, in fact, smoking, again, I'm repeating, smoking anything is going to worsen asthma outcomes overall because it's going to lead to airway inflammation. Now, there are people who say, yes, ganja tea and taking marijuana in another form does help with their asthma symptoms. It's not unknown. I don't have data to recommend it as a treatment for asthma, but there are many more very effective treatments available for asthma. We don't need to prescribe an addictive substance to treat asthma. If somebody is doing it off label, I will still recommend, or without recommendation, I'd still recommend please don't smoke it. Yeah, it can be very harmful. For calming down, well, that's what people claim about cigarettes too, right? So all of these substances which have receptors in the brain, which tend to get, they tend to give you a good feeling or a good vibe or calm you down or center you down, but they're addictive. So it's what's true for tobacco or for nicotine is also true for cannabis, right? So it definitely has an addiction potential, and you'd need more and more to feel that same feeling, which gets you then hooked onto this and then can have potential effects on your health. So yes, it may calm you down. It may be a stimulant for some people, but it's not something we want to recommend to calm you down. There are other controlled medications or non-medical techniques to help people calm down or center down. So I wouldn't recommend smoking marijuana for those purposes. There are specific reasons why marijuana has been prescribed in medicine. So for pain control, yes. For refractory seizure disorders, but these are medical marijuana. Yeah, these are indications for use of medical marijuana.
All right, folks. Looks like a lot of you guys are stressed out. We need to do a show on meditation and other things such as exercise that will help all of our stress levels. And you know what? We all have a degree of stress. I mean, trust me, I get it. We all respond differently to, stressful situations in our lives. Some of us eat, we overeat, we eat the wrong things. I always noticed that during exam time when I was in law school, my stress levels would kick up and I craved more unhealthy foods. Like it was hard for me to really stick on a, more sensible, balanced diet. And I don't know why, but I wanted the fries, I wanted the wings and everything when I was studying. It was just, that's what it was. So I think that, we just need to learn better stress management techniques. And speaking of that, later on in the week, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about journaling. A young lady has done some journaling books for different, times in your life. You're going through a divorce. There's a whole thing there with journaling, and writing is really one of those skills that I know a lot of us have given up, but it is a way to manage and to go through a lot of stresses. You just write it down and you have a way of releasing it once you put it in writing. So Damien, good morning. Damien says eating today's processed foods and breathing mosquito spray can give you cancer, although it's passed but not studied for several years before going on the market, right? So, here in the Cayman Islands, we do have obviously a lot of mosquitoes that are deadly if they're not controlled. So there are chemicals that are used to control them, and there are mosquito planes that are spraying these chemicals on in the atmosphere on us. Even if you have a garden outside, it's spraying it in the garden. Are those things that have any degree of concern when it comes to lung health and lung cancers, like any sort of environmental pollutants? They're being used to control certain insects and so on.
Yes, but usually when they're sprayed in open air, the dilution, the concentration that you actually end up inhaling is really not long enough. I mean, it's not strong enough to cause immediate or potential harm. However, we can't comment on individuals who are exposed to a concentrated amount for a long period of time. Obviously, yes, they may have some harm, no doubt. Yeah.
All right.
So when it's dispersed in the environment and it's mixed with air, and when you are in an open environment, it's unlikely to cause a significant amount of harm because of the dilution. Yeah.
So Ruby is asking, have you seen any improvement in cancer patients who use cannabis oil, as I've seen many stories which have said that it has shrunk the cancer or even cured it? So another question surrounding.
No, Ruby, I'm unfortunately not privy to such excellent information. It doesn't lead to any shrinkage of cancer. It's a myth. and something a lot of lobbyists for cannabis will try to say, but I don't agree with that. It definitely is helpful to mitigate cancer-related pain. So people who have refractory pain and who are prescribed cannabis oil for pain management definitely will benefit from that. And there's nothing wrong in prescribing it for pain or cancer-related or terminal cancer-related pain, but it doesn't shrink the cancer. No, any form of cancer.
Sandra, it seems there's quite a lot of
I
interest
know people are very
in
into
the
today's topic. Let me tell
medical marijuana aspect
Yes.
of things and how we're
Yes.
progressing. So maybe one day we can look at that in all its varieties.
yes, definitely.
Because as Dr. Archita is making it very clear, smoking of any of these substances will harm the lungs, right? And we can spend all morning and all afternoon
Debating
speaking
it
about
or
the
talking about
virtues
it.
of yes and treatment of various specialties, which would be
Yes.
unfair for us to ask of Dr. Archita today,
Yes.
since she's here speaking about the lungs. So
Yeah.
that's something you and I can talk offline and see if we can get a show put together on something like
Yeah,
that.
for sure. Let's talk about it. So Soka says, I'm convinced that air fresheners are carcinogenic. I never understood how people can stand them as they make me feel like I'm going to pass out. They don't freshen the air, by the way. Get a plant. So to Soka's point, there are other alternatives than using air fresheners and even the candles. Sometimes you're better off just opening a window and letting some fresh air in if you can.
True.
Yeah. Cara, good morning. Jonathan, he is pro marijuana, claiming that it doesn't kill. Sue says, again, a CDB oil question. And again, that's not really Dr. Archita's area of expertise or necessarily why she's here this morning, but she has answered a few questions in relation to that. But I think if you have questions, because I know some people are going through things at the moment where they may want to talk to their primary physician about what options are available to them. So good morning to Debbie. Jim says moderate and regular exercise works wonders on releasing stress. So thank you, Jim,
I
for that.
completely agree with that. Excellent.
Yes, and I think there's actual studies and research to confirm that as well. Soka says hot tea, hot coffee helps with asthma, but it's not what the tea is made from that does it. It's the steam. An Indian doctor told me to give my son hot tea anytime he felt an asthma attack coming. And in 20 years, he's never had to go back to the hospital for asthma. All right. So,
well, tea does contain something which is a chemical called theobromine, which acts as a bronchodilator. So that's probably why.
There you go. So it's not just about the steam. That's why we have the experts on the show, because we get all these anecdotal stories that sound great. And here she is telling you exactly what it is. So good morning, Dennis. He says, good morning, Sandy. And my favorite Dr. Archita. Have a blessed day. Thanks, Dennis, for that. So obviously the focus being on lung cancer awareness. What are some of the things we've talked about, what some of the risk factors are? We talked about some people potentially not having any risk factors at all. You mentioned a few of the symptoms that you could be looking for, like a persistent cough that just doesn't seem to go away. I get a little paranoid because I have a persistent cough, but I take an allergy tablet and it goes away. So I know it's probably nothing to do with my lungs. It's just
That's true. Yes. Not every symptom is going to, be a cancer. I don't want people to get paranoid, but also not neglect anything that's chronic or persistent or recurrent for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Ruby brings up a point, and this is interesting, about burnt toast. So cooking, and again, these are things when we talk about things that are carcinogenic. So we know that any sort of cooking process that's fast cooking, that actually chars, like whether you're eating charred meat, burnt toast, whatever, that burning is an indication that the chemicals that you've created on that piece of toast or that piece of meat is indeed carcinogenic. Does that have any connection to lung cancer, or would that be different types of cancers?
Well, I don't think we have enough data to see how many people burn their toast and cause lung cancer. So we can't really talk about how much risk it has on lung cancer. It's definitely an irritant. Charred cooking or smoke generated from charring of food is definitely an irritant, has been known to cause airway inflammation, for sure. And in that same context, it may eventually lead to, because of the lung inflammation and scarring, may lead to carcinogenesis later in life. We can't say it, but that's for somebody who's doing it professionally and all the time. You're not, because you burnt your toast, you're going to get a lung cancer. No, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're not eating burnt toast every day.
Sandy, what I would say to somebody like Ruby, who certainly has quite a lot of questions and a lot weighing on her mind, because there are several choices that may or may not need to be made. This is where we can ask you to call into Health City. We can connect you to the right specialist or specialists, rather than trying to have a discussion here about your particular case with Dr. Archita, where then you can have a third party listening in, also giving non-medical advice. We would hate for this show to become that, and then she leaves with an impression that, okay, everybody hates me or thinks they have a solution. I would rather a specialist who has done the training and is available, can do a teleconsult or a consult in an office. And I use the word specialist so as not to pin it down just on Dr. Archita, because there's so many other factors that may be called into question. I would hate for one person's medical case, potential medical case, to lead to everybody wanting to have a say now as to how this case should be handled, which is why we come here on Tuesdays and provide the various specialists who could provide further insight. But none of this replaces actually having a consult with a medical professional. So this is why we bring our specialists like Dr. Archita here, so you can be available and comfortable with them, and also getting comfortable with them and then being able to have a further discussion. So whether it's Ruby wants to just send an email to info@healthcity.ky, and we find the right person for her to speak with, I think that can help in this case for her, because I know we can spend, as I mentioned, all day, and I would hate for a viewer of yours to come away with a feeling, oh, I'm being attacked, where Dr. Archita is trying to provide lots of helpful information. But again, the rest of us who got our university degrees at Dr. Google will have quite a lot to say, right? And not discounting some of the anecdotes that have come out, because some of these anecdotes are actually coming from a place of good heart. I just didn't want anyone to feel that that might be the case. So we're here to help, rather than do what we do among friends and sit and see who has the fastest internet browser, and then pull up a million cases, don't see the particular patient history, other environmental concerns that could lead to that. We're here to help. We don't want to be part of just going down the rabbit hole of arguing with somebody who may have a legit question that they brought up, or a legitimate therapy that worked for them at this case. We don't know the full details, nor is this the right forum to deep dive into someone's particular medical case. So we stand by and are ready to help. So thanks for asking those questions. But I think on your case, I'd rather you get the help you really need than for us being here on the radio and on the screen and scaring you to going into a corner and then not seeking further help that you might need.
So lots of people can definitely benefit from Dr. Archita and her expertise. So Romelia is calling out a particular MP. She says, "Good morning. Is Minister Bryan in the house? And listen, smoking damages the lungs." So a not so subtle message there, Romelia. But listen, we want to thank Dr. Archita. There's tons of messages coming in. This person says, "I would make an appointment with her just to listen to her voice."
Oh my.
And I get that for free walking the halls.
You do have a very common voice, I must tell you.
Yeah. So in relation to Lung Cancer Awareness Month and what is being done, so just to remind your listeners, we do a low-dose CT scan, which is a lower dose than a regular CT. So we don't put as much radiation. It takes just a few moments, scan the lungs for any potential issues, spotting lung cancer before it becomes a major problem. You'd get a follow-up consult with Dr. Archita, or you may get a call saying, things are looking great with you, you can schedule another one in a year's time. And for the month of October, we're doing this at $50 to remove the financial barrier for this, to allow you to come on in and get that done. All right. So just wanted to let everybody know the details are on the screen, but you can call in at either 945-4040 or 640-4040. Send an email, info@healthcity.ky. Sandy, I'll have some more of this information visually that we'll be sharing for you to use on your platform later today.
Wonderful.
So your listeners and viewers can have a look at that and determine if this is something they'd want to explore. Because I'm loving the conversation.
Yes, and we do
that
have
we're
another
having here
caller
about the various
on the
anecdotes
line.
and particular solutions that we might
Yes.
have to some of these challenging issues.
So the phone lines are very hot this morning. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy.
Yes, sir.
I have a quick thing for you, and just to let people know that I used to smoke pretty much since I was 17, and I basically a pack a day, and that was to relieve stress. The thing about, for me, what works for me is that I started going back to the gym, which made me feel more healthier. I drink a lot more water, which releases, I guess for some reason, for me, when I drink the water as much, like on a daily basis, it takes away that craving from going to want to smoke. And then after a while, I started to realize how disgusting smoke was. Because when you're smoking, you really don't realize it. The other thing, my daughter, my 12-year, she was 12 at the time, she's now 16. She looked at me and she goes, "Daddy, how many packs of cigarettes do you smoke a day?" And I'm like, "A pack, 2 packs." And when I looked at it, she says, "That's $63 a week. That's 3,200 and like 700, 2,000, sorry, $3,275 a year. And in 10 years, that's $32,000 I could have saved."
Wow.
And I was like, okay, it's time to quit smoking.
How long did you smoke for? I'm curious.
I started smoking since I was maybe 16. I stopped a while ago, and I kept on going back and forth to it. So, but the thing was, I never had a craving. I was smoking just because smoking. You know, I just picked up a cigarette, and that was the thing to do. I've stopped now almost 7 years. And I've been religiously going back, you know, into the gym, running, doing extra training. And that's have saved me a lot more. Basically, what I've been doing, I had a cigarette jar that every time that I wanted, every week, I would still put that $63 into that cigarette jar. And then I, of course, deposit it to my bank or credit union, whatever. So that's been added up. So I'm just letting people know out there that going to the gym, taking walks, drinking water on a constant, and like I said, I'm only saying what works for me, but going on a constant basis. And if you have something in your life that's stressing you out, either relationship-wise, you maybe have to think about that, taking that away from your life.
Right.
I'm just saying, hey, you know, if I'm going to have somebody in my life that's going to be stressing me out, then take that from the equation.
All right, caller. We appreciate it.
Like, not a problem. Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. All right, so we'll talk about stress here in a minute once our guests have left, guys. I've seen some comments. So this person says, "Good morning, Sandy. Dr. Archita is a great lung doctor. I'm a patient of hers. He said for the month of October, but this is November. Is it done? Is it done, God?"
November.
No, it's
It's
November.
the month of November. So
It's
it's
one
the
of the
1st of
scary
November
things
today.
you
We're just
mentioned
starting.
Yeah,
at the top
so
of the
just
show, where
starting.
it's scary to believe that it's November. So thanks for
Yeah,
clarifying
he wants to stay in the month of October, but no, here's the special,
Yes.
folks.
It's
It's for
throughout
the month of November. Low dose CT scan and consultation with the lung specialist if a consultation is required. $50 KYD. And again, anyone who's over 50 years of age, current smoker, you have a history of smoking, and you've quit in the past 15 years, this could be the ideal screening for you. So Lung Cancer Awareness Month, folks, it's all about really putting you in a better position to make decisions about your lung health. And obviously there are other lung illnesses that Dr. Archita can speak to you about. So just make an appointment, go in and get the CT scan and, take it from there. So again, thank you so much to our guests. You never know, I got to be honest with you. Sometimes you just never know what program is going to really touch people. And I feel like this is one of those that obviously is an important topic, but people are really on board with it. And I'm glad to see that we had so many callers and so many comments and so forth coming in. It demonstrates that people obviously care about their lung health. Dr. Archita mentioned the importance of exercising. That's one of the things that no matter who you are, you can do to try to keep your lungs as healthy as possible as well. So there's a lot of things that we can do to improve our overall lung health. But thank you, Dr. Archita. If you want to contact Health City folks about smoking cessation, having a consultation with Dr. Archita, that lovely voice, she could be a hypnotist. She will convince you to quit.
I have an alternate career plan then. Let me look at it.
You got a backup plan there just in case, retirement.
That's okay, Dr. Archita. If you need a manager for that specialty, I'm here to help you with that one.
The email address is info@healthcity.ky. Website, healthcitycaymanislands.com, 945-4040, super easy contact details. So please do contact Dr. Archita and the rest of the Health City team. So Ms. Sandra Miller joining us a little bit late, but we'll continue some of these discussions. Again, thank you guys so much. Rundown Tuesdays, you guys know this is a place to come for all of your medical and wellness and health information, courtesy of Health City Cayman Islands. Ben, thank you.
Sandra, so thank you very much for having us. You and I are going to do a chat offline because you have a clearly knowledgeable listenership and viewership, and maybe we can work on some of our programs rather than us planning them and telling you this is what we have going on, where we address some of these topics that your listeners so keenly want to talk about and are so passionate about. But thanks as well to Dr. Archita for giving us her time. I know her schedule is very busy, and then she's going to be off to see patients.
I'm going to be late to work, so Ben, you're going to vouch for that. When my patient's grumbling outside.
Yes, you just send them to me. I'll be like, I am the reason why Dr. Archita is a bit late. But Sandy, thanks for the opportunity as usual.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
All right, have a fantastic day. All right, folks. So that is Cayman Islands Health City there. They have so many offerings. I was really, really tickled pink to see that you guys really enjoyed this particular one as well. And, I passed their facility there. I didn't realize how close it was to like everything. It's like right there on the bypass, the new facility at Camana Bay. It looks massive. I was just like, whoa.
For over 7 years, Health City Cayman Islands has provided life-changing and life-saving medical care for the people of the Cayman Islands at our hospital in East End. During this time, we have become an integral part of the community and now focused on connectivity and collaboration. Our vision is to make an even greater impact on the quality of healthcare for the people of our islands. In summer 2022, we will open a 70,000 square foot state-of-the-art hospital built on 3 acres of land at the southern end of Camana Bay, bringing much-needed specialized medical services closer to where people live, work, and play. Camana Bay, located at the heart of 7 Mile Beach, is home to schools, businesses, shops, restaurants, and entertainment. And now, Health City Camana Bay, a $100 million world-class hospital. Health City Camana Bay will include an advanced cancer care unit offering bone marrow transplantation and the latest cancer treatment technology. It will contain a modern neonatal intensive care unit, emergency and critical care, purpose-designed operating rooms for surgical specialties such as cardiology, neurology, and orthopedics, and robotic operating systems. A master plan for improved health care for the people of the Cayman Islands. Ready to meet the needs of our patients here and now, we have already established a footprint in Camana Bay with the opening of our clinic. offering short wait times, extended opening hours, including evenings and weekends, and the ability to see our world-class doctors closer to where our patients live and work. The clinic has bright, comfortable waiting areas and treatment rooms, friendly staff, expert care, lab services, and diagnostics. Reflecting our operating philosophy of patient-centered care, convenient access to our specialist doctors allows our patients to focus on getting better rather than getting to appointments. With our unwavering commitment to our community and the thousands of patients who trust us to care for them, we look forward to building healthier communities in a place where life unfolds, blossoms, and thrives. Welcome to Health City, Camana Bay.
My apologies. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. No, I was just saying that we have taken the proverbial coconut in the Caribbean and threw it in the pig pen, and it has hit Jonathan this morning, and he's really upset that we've said don't smoke anything, including marijuana. Don't smoke paper, don't smoke water, don't smoke rice paper. The act of smoking, this is just common sense. You don't need a medical degree to know that this can't be healthy for you. The act of smoking anything, burning and smoking that and putting that directly into your lungs cannot be healthy. So he's happy to say that cigarettes are not healthy and cigars are not healthy, but he won't come on board with marijuana. You know what? It is what it is. Jonathan, you have a choice. It's your lungs ultimately. So if you want to smoke and damage your lungs and give yourself lung cancer, you just mentioned something about having a son. That's a shorter life that you're going to potentially have with your son, but we all ultimately have choices. There are those of us who are eating unhealthy and who are causing, side effects because of that. We're becoming diabetics earlier in life, and we are, having all sorts of all sorts of health issues. Everybody has choices, folks. And the good thing about living in a democratic society is most of your choices, or a lot of your choices, do impact only you and your family up to a certain extent. Although, you know what? I'm going to roll that back a little bit, because the more of us that are unhealthy, diabetic, smokers, overweight, obesity is killing people, the more our health insurance costs go up. So it's not just about the individual decisions, because those things impact all of us ultimately as well. Health insurance is hell of a expensive. And, the less healthy we are, the more that it will contribute to that. So Captain Mark is here. He says it's not easy, but go for daily walks and gym and control your diet. And nobody says it's easy. Listen, if smoking is your Achilles heel, that's your Achilles heel. Other people have food. Other people have, other bad habits. Somebody said in the WhatsApp, they're like, sex equals stress release. And it does, for the record. You obviously have to still be safe with your engaging in who you're having sex with, and perhaps sometimes what you're doing. You've always seen those shows, Sex Sent Me to the ER. Just be careful. But yes, sex is a sex. Sex is a stress relief as well. Go knock yourself out. Have some good sex. Have a tumble in the hay or whatever you want to call it. Folks, it's all about, a lot of it really in life is about moderation. So Jonathan seems to think that he has more stress than the rest of us. Oh, Lord, have mercy, Jonathan. Some days I can't even. Stress is relative. And so, Jonathan, you may be, because of your youthfulness, not able to yet handle your stress, or maybe you just show it more. I don't really know. But believe me, until you've walked in a person's shoes, you just simply don't know. So you may think you have more stress than some people. And, some people have an immense amount of stress. It just is not something that you can gauge or guess. And all of us deal with stress in different ways. So let's talk about this for a second before we talk about the school situation that is very, very topical. So, we had a young man, a Filipino gentleman who recently committed suicide. And I feel like someone who commits suicide must have obviously felt like they are at the end of their rope, that there is nothing more that they can do. They feel hopeless. And so they do the ultimate thing, which is take themselves out of this situation. And I really would like to, Ruby, go back and read Jonathan's comments, because I actually did see that. I really don't. This is my philosophy, and I don't know if any of you have ever been on the verge of committing suicide, but I think, right? We've all said, perhaps in a moment of just madness, like, oh, I could just end it all right now. But I think that the perspective that you need to take is give yourself 5 more minutes, right? Just give yourself 5 more minutes. And in 5 minutes, if you don't feel better, just give yourself 5 more minutes. And if nothing changes in 5 minutes, give yourself 5 more minutes, because the point is nothing is permanent. No mental state is permanent. No stress in life is permanent, right? You're going through divorce, your spouse is leaving you, maybe they've cheated on you, they've done you wrong, they've done all this stuff, but it is not a permanent situation. You will rise up again. You will find somebody else that you probably love more than that spouse who's probably been mistreating you for years anyway, who was a cheater, who was a dog, who was this, who was that. You don't have access to your children. If you love your children and you try to be active in their lives, one day things will come around where you will have the opportunity to have a relationship with your children. So nothing, absolutely nothing in life is permanent. And I just want to encourage people to just hang in there. Get help. Speak to a professional. Speak to a therapist. There are things that we can do to really help our mental state and not necessarily hurt ourselves. You don't have to hurt yourself with smoking, overeating, all of those things. They're alternatives. And I love that Jim has jumped into the conversation, encouraging you, go for a walk, get some exercise, write in a journal. Like I said, I've got some journals here I'm going to talk to you guys one day about here shortly, that Miss Stacy, who works at the court office, has given me. She's actually created these journals, and they're different types of journal. One is journaling for someone who has gone through a divorce or is going through a divorce. I got to look at the books that she's given me, but she's given me about 3 or 4 books, and they all have kind of like different topics and stuff. And then you just write about your experiences. I mean, how many of you have journaled, massage, meditate? Folks, these things work and they do help. You just have to find what will be the thing that you can do, the thing, breathing exercises when you start to feel stressed out. Some people have panic attacks, and panic attacks, folks, can be a really, really serious thing. Sometimes, people who've had panic attacks say that they literally feel like they are having a heart attack. That's how serious it is. But I just want people to understand and believe that there is an alternative. You don't have to take up bad habits. You don't have to go out there and decide, to start doing drugs to try to control your emotions or how you're feeling. And we know that a lot of people who turn to drugs, it's really to mask something else that is going on in their lives, right? So, just think about the options and speak to someone. There are tons of professionals out there that will help you. I go and get acupuncture, and even in the moment of getting the acupuncture done, trust me, when the needle's going in, it doesn't really feel like great, but it's only a second of pain. And then I find that it does relax me. And when I'm on that table, I start to snooze and I go into deep sort of meditative, state. There are tons of things, folks, that you can really do to help your mental state and to help your stresses in life. And if you've never learned any of these skills, and I feel like a lot of Caribbean people, like we think we're so tough and whatever. I was kind of chuckling over the weekend. I stopped by on Friday to see one of my clients, and he he was telling me how he recently took a trip abroad, and it's an Asian country, and Asian countries believe in a lot of, just alternative medicines, meditation coupled with some modern medicine. And he was saying that the physician that he went to, who was forcing him to get a massage and to do all this stuff, was actually telling him things about his health that was spot on. And it wasn't because she had done a CT scan or anything else. She was listening to his pulse, took his wrist and was listening to his pulse. And she's like, "Oh, you suffer from da 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 da," and was like very, very specific. And he's like, "How do you know that?" Because actually I do. And so, he's a really tough guy. And he's like, "Oh, they signed me up for all these darn massages. I don't want no massage." And I had to laugh at how he was describing the experience of having these oils that are used, on the body. And, do you guys know that there's certain surgeries, especially after you've had cosmetic surgeries or any kind of surgery, that, they pump fluids into your body to do the surgery, right? One of the things that they heavily suggest as part of your post-operative care is lymphatic massage. Massage has legitimate, quantifiable benefits, right? You can see your blood pressure dropping after you have had a massage, after you've engaged in a meditative moment, breathing exercises. In fact, research has shown that there's breathing techniques that can lower your blood pressure just as much as taking that tablet, that 5 milligrams of amlodipine or whatever. But, we're here in the Western world. We don't want to hear these things. We're like, no. I just want to smoke or take a line of cocaine or whatever. That's our Western way of thinking that we can resolve all of our problems through over-medicating and self-medicating and all this kind of stuff. And, you need to look at some alternative options. So one of the, Jonathan says he wants to die in peace. Well, you'll get your wish one way or the other. But, one of the things that Jonathan said, which is kind of interesting, and he says, "Oh, well, keep taking your what's the medication called? The allergy tablet." And I'm very much aware that, in fact, and Jonathan doesn't know this, he's just being flippant, but taking antihistamines and these allergy tablets, if you take them too much, there is a link, some sort of a link between them and Alzheimer's and your dementia and your recall and that sort of stuff as you get older, early onset of some of these things. So I'm not a person who believes in overtaking any medication. That's why I got to drop my 50 pounds, because I know that 50 is ideal. Even 10 or 15 pounds will make a humongous difference in my BMI and just my overall health. And this is where, we joke about how much we love food, but the foods that we love are not the healthiest for us. And we've got to do these things in moderation. Yesterday, I had an amazingly healthy lunch, and I was sitting there eating it. Beans, corn, quinoa, and I told them I'm not fond of eating like bell peppers raw. So I was like, take the bell peppers off. And it was just and kale. And it was such a healthy, and roast chicken on the top. It was just, so I got my protein and the beans, the chicken, I had the corn, I had the kale, and I had the quinoa. It was just so incredibly healthy. And I need to have more meals like that. And you know what? Not only was it healthy, it actually tastes good. Like, healthy food can taste good, folks. We don't have to compromise on taste all the time. Now, am I going to lie and say, "Oh, I'm never going to eat another ripe plantain again"? No, y'all know that's not going to happen. But it's all about moderation and cutting back. Every single meal, I can't have a ripe plantain because I know that isn't healthy for you in the frying. I finally cracked open. Siobhan will be happy to hear the air fryer is finally cracked open. I found an awesome recipe for making pancakes that is completely made of bananas. There's no flour in it. There's nothing else. And you know what? It actually tastes good. Yes. My daughter's been eating it. No complaints from her at all. She doesn't even know that this is a flourless pancake. So I think, as parents and as individuals, we can make small but meaningful changes in our lives that will help. The exercise. Yes, I need to get back on the exercise bandwagon. And, I used to exercise all the time. I got to tell you the truth. I'm surprised it's taken me so long since I fallen off the bandwagon last time to get back on. But I have no legitimate excuse. Like, I just need to do it. You guys are going to see something here that I'm going to do shortly, not today, but to kind of kickstart my exercise routine, because we're doing this 50 by 50 journey together. And I want you guys to hold me accountable. You know, I'm not hanging out at the Burger Shack at Burger King every single day. You know, you treat yourself once a month to a burger, then that's fine. And the Burger King has salads, and they have other alternative options on the menu and stuff as well. So, you know, ultimately you have to make choices. Jonathan, we're not here to tell you how to, you know, live your life. You seem to get very, very upset when people tell you things that you don't want to hear. And it's, you know, I don't know how old you are, Jonathan, but life will have a lot of lessons for you yet. So you'll be okay. Scott says, as a counterpoint to no stress is forever, I would submit to you, my mother-in-law. Scott, OMG, where's your wife this morning? She's like, what did you say about my mama? What I would say, Scott, is what do they say in Cayman? Farther distance, better friends. So keep the mother-in-law at arm's length, and you'll be okay. That is hilarious. That is just too funny. Mother-in-laws. Ruby says, I'm so lost. My phone ain't showing me all the messages from other people. And she's blaming it on the phone. Then she says, oh, it's just me, dumb, not scrolling down. She had a blonde moment. No, Jonathan, I didn't call you stupid. Jonathan, what is with you this morning? Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, honey? Chill. Change that attitude this morning. Good morning to Junior joining us from Jamaica. We appreciate it. Aliano says the cost to live healthy is expensive versus living unhealthy is cheap. But the long-term cost, Aliano, is not cheap for living unhealthy. That is for sure. And I think it's a bit of a misnomer too, that the cost of eating healthy is expensive. Because y'all been to some fast food joints recently? The prices have gone up just like everything else. And, you know, you have a home cooked meal, you can portion it. You can have portion controls and that sort of thing. You have one fast food meal, that's going to be like 2,000 calories. You know what I love in the US, and I really, really wish that they would do it here. Every single restaurant you go into now, as part of the menu, the calories are listed. And OMG, am I the only one who's surprised? Listen, I love me a Cheesecake Factory. But when I see that one meal, one appetizer, not even a meal, oh my God, is like 2,500 calories, I'm just like, that's in my entire allowance. Let me see if I can bring up. Oh my gosh. And they must use some of the biggest, everything fat, you know, all the good cheeses and butter. And listen, I made my world famous mac and cheese on Sunday for a little party that I went to. And everybody at that party was like, oh my God, Sandy, we had no idea you could cook, girl. I made the bread rolls. I did some desserts, you know, my little variation on the custard top. People loved it. They're like, what is this? But, you know, you can't eat that mac and cheese every day or every week because it is full of all kind of cheeses. Let me tell you. I'm going to show you guys a few pictures because, honey, chill. My mac and cheese is off the chain. If you've never had it, you legitimately are missing out in life, because you at least need to have it once so you can be like, yes, I now know, you know, what it's like to have had Sandy's mac and cheese. It takes you on an experience. It is divine. Let me show y'all my mac and cheese, honey, chill. But I put so many cheeses in it. And you know, the thing about it is you've got to put in the good cheese. You can't go cheap on cheese. No. So I put in, like, listen, one little block of cheese is like $12, but it's aged 24 months, and the taste that it brings out in your mac and cheese is next level. Like, you can actually taste the different cheeses in it. Yeah. I put that in there. But again, this is like once every so often, you know. I'm doing it less and less these days, to be honest. I'm going to show you all some of the cheeses that I put in, just so that you can see for yourself. Hold on now. Let me back it up. Okay, here we go. Y'all get a little food memory. All right, look at this. This is the new WhatsApp desktop. I noticed there's a new version, but this is what we had. So we had chicken, baked chicken. So that's pretty good. We had, these are my bread rolls here. So I do one bread roll that is with coconut shavings on it, and then one without. People love, if you, even if you don't like coconut, the coconut ones are amazing. So people love that one. A little bit of rice and beans. We had some lamb, some baked potatoes, like just sauteed, vegetables. I think there was some kale in there somewhere as well. And this one back here is the mac and cheese, honey chill. Let me show you some of the, oh yeah, here's another view of it. The mac and cheese did not last. Oh my gosh, this meal is amazing. I'm having food memories. So this is some of the, you know, I do the cheddar cheese. I do the 3 cheeses. The, oh, Ruby, I'm going to make some mac and cheese for you one day. I do the, like the 3 cheeses, mozzarella, cheddar, sharp cheddar. But then this, just this little bit of cheese, this is aged 24 months. And this one is the manchego, I think is what it's called. It is delicious. And then we add a little hotness to it. So we got the jalapeno and we got some, oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Look at that picture. That's a close-up of the mac and cheese. So all I'm saying is it's legit. But again, I'm not going to eat that every single day. In fact, I can't have it once a week. It's going to be maybe, you know, once a quarter now, because I am legitimately trying to do better with the diet. And these are the sacrifices that we have to make. Would I love to eat mac and cheese every day? Probably. But I know it's not healthy for you. So we make little adjustments. Now, check out the Cheesecake Factory thing, right? I want to show you guys something here. Check out how many calories you're looking at when you eat out. But at least in the US, they tell you. Okay, so forget about the cheesecakes, because normally I don't go to Cheesecake Factory for the cheesecakes because I don't even have room for dessert. Factory nachos are between 2,670 calories and 2,950 calories. That's like 2 days worth of food. Hummus is 730 to 1,600 calories. Hot spinach dip over 1,700 calories. The fried calamari over 1,500. These are the equivalent of daily allowances. And these are all appetizers, by the way. Egg roll sample over 1,300. Sweet corn tamale cakes over 1,300. Fried mac and cheese, well, you know that's going to be deadly, over 1,300. Even their salads. You think the salads are healthy? Yeah, please. The salads are just as bad in terms of your caloric intake as some of the other stuff. Let me see, because they have it all on their website. You can go to the website and they'll show you what every single thing is. And of course, I love the avocado egg rolls. Anybody else loves those? Oh Lord, how many calories? It's probably too many. Of course, because they're fried, right? And that adds a lot of calories. You think, okay, the avocado is kind of healthy-ish. But you know, I do like that they tell you. So they've got this Skinnylicious area for people who are trying to be healthier. But let me tell you that even this little salad has way more calories than you think. Anyway, we digress, but it is what it is. Ruby says, I'll take the cake minus the space. All right. Good morning, Strong Will. So let's talk about our children in schools. And Ruby, I saw your question about the teens who ran off as well. So the last that we heard from the police is that 2 of the teenagers had returned, and there was still one of the young ladies who was missing. This is very, very concerning. I don't know how many times I have to talk about, because I'm feeling like a broken record now, the Bonaventure home, the Kays Foundation. I talk about it and I talk about it and I talk about it. And I feel like, honestly, no one is listening. Yeah. So there's been no update on the 3rd teen as yet. these children, and the thing about it is the police never really say to us that the children are in the home or are, you know, that's where they are, child. And so that adds a very different degree of information. And you all have to at some point start wondering, why do all these show. So good morning, everyone. Gee, we had a moment there. The entire computer just crashed on me. Don't know what happened. I'm trying to get everything back. So give me 1 second here. So, oh gosh, exquisite edibles. So yes, oops. How do I, there we go, I think. Yes, okay. So talk about stress. There's a stressful moment when a computer just crashes for no reason. You're in the middle of a talk show, and then we have no connection to the radio. We have no connection because everything, I need my computer working for this all to work. So thank you for those of you calling to let me know what happened. I'm aware because I saw that proverbial blue screen of death. I don't know. It's happened a couple times and then it stopped and it just happened again. So I think I'm in the market for a new computer, honey child, because this is work. So we can't be having the computer and the technology acting up around the place for no understandable reason. Just crashed. So, I had a call with my husband. I'm like, the computer just crashed and now the keyboard won't work. He's just so calm, cool, and collected. And because IT is his specialty, he's like, just turn off the USB port for that device. Turn it off and on. And sure enough, I was able to type after that. Let me have a sip of tea so I can remain as calm and cool and collected as possible. Anyway, good people, it happens. Life, what can you do? Aliano says, Sir Alden got Sandra. What a mess. These things happen. Things break. It's man-made. Things stop working. Let's all just take a moment to say, let's meditate on it. Let's not have it stress us out. As I say, nothing in life is permanent. This too shall pass. And here we are. Let's get back on topic. Sir Al didn't jinx my computer. He's like, don't talk about that Bonaventure anymore. Well, I'm going to talk about it. Not Bonaventure, the entire Case Foundation. Yes, honey chow. Karen's like, honey chow, what the heck? Let's sip on that tea. So listen, I'm concerned about the Case Foundation because these are our children. They are the most vulnerable children on this island for a number of reasons. They're not vulnerable because, children are born an empty slate. Yesterday, I was talking to someone about this young man. What's his name? He just charged with a double murder. Belafonte, Wayne Belafonte Jr. I don't know the young man. But the person said to me, his people must be from East End. And this person knows him, and said, boy, Sandy, you hate to say that a child doesn't have a chance, but this poor kid was pulled up and, dragged up in life in such a way that this person said, I'm not surprised that he's going to spend even more of his life in jail than he already has. He spent most of his life in and out of jail. This person said, Sandy, it's almost like he would not be in a position to help himself because of bad parenting and the situation that he's been born into. And I listen when people say things like that. I listen very carefully to the examples that they give. A child who thought one person was his father, he's named after, apparently, that turns out that's not even his papa. That's not who he for. You don't think that things like that have an impact on children when they don't know who their real parents are and they grow up having no idea who their dad is, and the person they thought that their dad is named after them as a friggin' junior, that it's like an episode of Jerry Springer. You are not the father. This has an impact on children. Parents, y'all need to listen to me. The decisions that you're making right now with your life, and yes, who you're fornicating with and who you're choosing to get pregnant by, has an impact on your children. They will grow up with issues. So all of a sudden, the man who thought this was his kid, nope, he not for me. Well, I'm not going to be supporting him no more. He not my child. Go find a real father. And it's like, The grandparents who are willing to take him, nope, give him back. Enough for us. We don't want him after all. It has such a detrimental effect. You know, it is something actually that has been happening a really long time in the Cayman Islands. One of the interviews that you'll see coming up in the coming weeks for our Cayman Voices series, this is an elderly gentleman in his 80s now, who again had a similar situation, a similar life story, but for that aunt that took him in and loved him like he was her own. He grew up not knowing his mother until he was an adult. He has no clue who his father is to this day. He's 87 years old. These are the stories of our people. And so when I think about the young people in the children's home, I know through no fault of their own, they have ended up in a situation that is really sad. You know, they don't get to choose parents. They don't get to choose the circumstances and the homes in which they are being raised. It is just, in my opinion, one of the worst things that you can do to these poor kids. Oh, listen, I those who know it and those who live it can really feel it the most. And I don't just listen to these stories in isolation and think nothing more of it. I am also very cognizant from my own life experiences of how these things can make you feel. And trust me, if you don't have someone in your life that is willing to be that anchor for you, it is really easy to go down the wrong road. And so the Case Foundation has onerous responsibility to try to put these children in a safe environment. And I get it. It's a mixed bag of children. Now, that's the first mistake they're making, is they're mixing children in a way that they shouldn't. So they're mixing children with behavioral issues, and then they're mixing children who have no behavioral issues, but because they're being abused in homes, lack of good parenting or whatever, you know, they were removed for their own protection from the home. Those two very divergent types of children should be in totally different homes because they need different treatment programs. They need different ways of managing them. And that simply isn't happening. We've thrown the whole lot of children together and it's like sink or swim. We don't care about you. It is what it is. Ugh. It's just, if we cannot get this right, and we can't do right by our children in the Case Foundation, we are doomed as a country. Because even if this is only 10% of the kids in this community that go through that program, and let's not talk about the ones who are, still in poor homes and whatever. If we can't help these children, I'm telling you, the impact that those 10% will have on this entire country, double murder, being charged with a double murder. And not your first time at the rodeo, not your first time going to jail. And it's not like I'm sure this kid wanted better for himself and for his life, but you only know what you know and what you've been exposed to. And you've been exposed to a bunch of foolishness by parents who were not even ready to be parents. Oh my God. It just absolutely breaks my heart. So, Ruby, one young lady is still missing, as far as we know, the police have said. And I want to talk about a situation that happened in our schools, right? So I have a, by the way, if anybody knows Ricardo Goff, his wallet with his debit card has been found. And yesterday morning, by the way, remember the caller who called in about the found wallet? That young lady, funny enough, she was messaging us the same time at 7 something in the morning, but I wasn't checking messaging yet on social media, that her wallet had been lost and she was in a panic that she'd never be able to find her wallet. It had $200 in it. Unfortunately, the $200 was gone by the time that honest Samaritan found it. And so, at least she got her wallet back with all her IDs and stuff like that. So Mr. Ricardo Goff is his name. Looks like he lives in West Bay. So if you know Ricardo, please let him know that his wallet has been found and he can reach out to us after the show and we will point him in the right direction for his wallet. All right. So there was an incident on Friday at one of the schools. CHHS. What's it called again? Clifton Hunter High School, involving a young lady who is 15 years old and a teacher. So this is a number of students messaged me about it. And, listen, I take on board what kids say, but I also take it with a grain of salt. Just because they're saying it doesn't mean it goes so. And it doesn't mean that they're right and whatever. But this young lady, the story goes, this is what the story is, that she was approached about a phone in her possession. She wasn't on the phone, but I guess now finally after, and I've said this before, that they have long needed to ban mobile phones from the schools, because it's one of the things that encourages young people to want to record these fights and so on, is because they have these mobile phones. So I'm just looking for some of the messages here. I think I might have actually put them on my laptop yesterday. But anyway, a number of these kids reached out and they're saying, listen, Miss Sandy, I saw this. I'm uncomfortable about how this happened and what happened. And they are raising a concern. When young people approach you and they say that, listen, this incident has happened and they're disturbed by it, they're concerned, you need to listen to them. Even if they're not telling you the full story or they're not telling you the truth, you have 5, 6 or more kids reaching out, there's something to it. Now, this young lady has been arrested on suspicion of a number of different offenses. Just because a police officer has made an arrest does not mean that the police officer was in the right. It doesn't mean that the child was completely in the wrong. This is why an investigation is required. Nor does it mean that the child is automatically guilty. This child now has bruises. I'm going to show you some of them. It's a little bit hard to see because she is of a brown complexion, and the bruising just doesn't show up quite the same. But this young lady has a number of bruises on her as a result of this altercation with the police. Now, with a police officer at the school, we were not there, so she's been arrested on suspicion of disorderly conduct, common assault, and assaulting a police officer. Those are the allegations against her. But I can tell you one thing, she certainly has some wounds on her body to demonstrate that something happened that was very much a physical altercation as well. So here she is, bruises. And like I said, people of color, it takes a good bruise for it to even be visible. Sorry. And for it to show up. But look at the bruise. This is it. Oh, my apologies. That's the bruise on her arms. In multiple locations, I should add. Right? Look at this. Now, it's entirely possible that she may have gotten the bruises because she was fighting the officer. Yes, that's very possible. Like I said, we were not there to say exactly what happened. And yet, we have multiple messages from students who are saying, Ms. Sandy, this is what happened, and this is what I witnessed, and this is what went down. Now, are all of these students collectively lying on the police officer? One person said that they have even made a complaint against the same officer before to the ombudsman's office, and nothing was ever done. This isn't good. If the children are saying that something has gone down here, they say, yes, the young lady was not supposed to have her phone, but the response to that should not have been to body slam her. So here's what one student said. Hi, Sandra. I have witnessed the incident on Friday also. Please help the police officer get fired or sued. This is a child who can get breast cancer after what the police officer, Tamara, did. That child never gave in her phone, and all of a sudden, this is what they have going on. Everyone needs to know the truth of what goes on at Clifton Hunter and stop making it seem like it's a good school. The person goes on to say the government needs to make everyone that goes to the school. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a comment on that.
Mhm.
Not that case, but a particular similar case.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I on air now?
Yes, you are.
Good morning to everyone.
Yes, morning.
I didn't catch the beginning of the topic about the student that had the assault with the police officer. But I know it goes on because I had a similar situation at the John Gray High School with my grandson, with a police officer that is on the campus there. And they ended up going to court where he got charged for assault. I'm not going to call the officer name because, they don't want to call no names, so I'll try not to call no names, but they'll know is a female officer there that's on the campus. There's more than one parent that has had arguments with that teacher, with that police officer regarding their children. What she does is go around, she targets those children to push them to get in trouble. And my grandson actually ended up getting arrested over it. The judge had to throw out a case because the judge said he was doing self-defense because she grabbed him up in his collar and wanted to fight him. And of course, he fought back to her because he did not know what she was grabbing him up for. The police officers came there to the scene and they manhandled him. He was only 16 years old. They manhandled him as if he was their equal. 5 police officers. So they ended up having to go to court, and the judge charged him for assault because he hit one of the police officers back. But the judge threw out the part with the other officer because she grabbed him out of nose. So this is something that goes on over and over and over, and we need to look into it because as we can see now, the police officers are getting very pulled down. Like you got another officer on the radio yesterday for another incident, but we need to look into this brutality of these police officers that are coming on scene now because they're bringing their mentality and their behavior from their country to ours. And this is why it's getting out of hand. That's similar to the one that happened down at Valley's Cold Spot. If you've seen that incident, that camera when that police officer threw that guy down, he had his hands up in the air. So it's not just the children, it's happening to adults too. So yes, somebody needs to look into it. We need investigation into their behavior. Okay.
All right, my dear. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, love. So, yes, I mean, there's always two sides to the story because I do have some people at the school who are saying, well, that young lady has a reputation. She likes to be disrespectful. I think that it takes a certain type of police officer, just like it takes, somebody shared a video with me last night of kids in Jamaica fighting with teachers. And I don't want their job for anything in the world. You couldn't pay me to be a teacher, to be honest, right? I know that these teachers are fed up. I'm going to show you this video here in a second. Teachers are fed up. They've had enough. The children are rude. They're coming from rude households and the whole 9 yards. I get it. But I also get that you need to have a particular type of resolution style where you yourself don't necessarily resort to beating these children up yourself. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
How are you?
Yeah, I will hear I got a problem with that. But you're really standing on the corns this morning. Because I know the same circumstance where it seems to me, I can't see it any other way, but that at the John Gray School, well, mine not anymore, thank God. But it was like there was no professional. I can try to handle it a little different. It didn't seem like it was any professional way in which the police officer was trained to handle children with a psychological situation and input, security, control, etc. To me, when I needed the backup to say, listen, son, you're wrong, it wasn't there. But when they needed to thump him down, it was there. And I can only blame the principal of the school as far as I could blame him, because to me, he seemed always like an extremely reasonable person. But always this one officer in particular, it was a problem. And I don't like badness from children or anybody. And I will, like I said, I will lick them down. I have taken my 2 foot and in my hand and walked down to the police station. I picked up phone and call and say, listen, my own is doing this, that, and the next. So that I not hear about you beating up no teacher, because I'll lick you off your foot in front of the teacher, in front of the class.
Yes.
I know for that.
Yeah.
But when you got adults that will lie on children, no matter how bad a child is, don't exaggerate that story. You have then told them that there is no recourse for them. They will never be right, because you will always be right. Because if it takes a lie, then you will lie. So what do any of us think or believe that a child is going to do?
Yeah. I mean,
I am not
it's a tough situation,
psychologist.
right? Because I think none of us who are discussing this were there. The children were there, and I'm going to read some of their comments. But at the end of the day, someone says that, a lot of these children are so rude. They don't want to listen to authority.
That's true.
They think that they can push themselves up on people and not understand that in the real world, you push yourself up on a police officer and you may very well get body slammed. You may get shot if you're in the United States of America. You have got to learn to respect authority, but at the same time, you also, as the authority, have to know how to deal with different types of situations. And it should also be about de-escalation. A police officer's first response should not be one of force. It should be, let's talk about it. And not everybody has the right demeanor or patience for that type of work, or even for children. Because if you grew up, caller, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but as you said, if you grew up where children, I was listening to someone this weekend say this, children must learn to be, now they all have an opinion. They must learn to be seen and not heard. I don't necessarily believe that that's the way to raise children, but if they're doing it in a respectful manner, they're entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to have a say. But if you also grew up where, you were told, don't speak until you're spoken to, and then a child rolls up on you with this foppish attitude and whatever, you are likely to bust them upside their head without a doubt. Because that is your response mechanism and what you know. And even the best training in the world, when you're in a situation, that training might just fly right out the window. So I'm not here to blame this police officer because I wasn't there. What I'm saying is this matter needs to be properly investigated. They need to review the CCTV footage. They need to take statements from the students, and they need to try to ascertain as objectively as possible what happened. The young lady has a number of charges that she's potentially facing. She has been arrested on suspicion of, let me see what the thing here says. Disorderly conduct, common assault, and assaulting a police officer. She's only 15 years old. Right? Now, I believe in second chances. We don't want her, however, to turn into Tiffany Connolly, where we're going to give her a second chance and she believes that she can go around beating up police every other time that she gets in an incident and there will never be any consequences. There has to be consequences for your actions, just like there should be consequences for the actions of the police officer if she was in the wrong as well. So I'm not giving anybody right
here.
Some
training. I feel like some training needs to go on for police officers on that beat.
Yeah.
I don't I can't handle children. I can't handle people's children. I can't even rightfully handle my own.
Yes.
But I don't put myself in the position that I have to be judge, jury, and executioner at any point in time. That needs specific training in today's world. When I went to school, that wasn't a problem because not usually you're going to find that the attitude that you find from the children and the attitude back to the children. So it wasn't this harried and hustled situation. But I'm telling you, the things that happen at the John Gray need to be looked at from way back when.
This one's
not just yesterday.
This one is Clifton Hunter, which normally we don't hear a lot about Clifton Hunter. So this is kind of an interesting situation. But I'm going to read some of the additional comments here that we have from the students, because again, don't discard their opinion just because they're students. Let's listen to what it is that they have to say. All right, caller, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So again, I'm not taking sides in this situation because I may not have all of the facts, but what I can tell you is that enough of our young people have reached out to me and said, Miss Sandy, this was wrong and this is what went down. And so I think that at the very least, I'm trying to pull up some of their messages here off the laptop, that we need to have this properly investigated, because it does concern me that, a young lady now has bruises and all this other stuff on her. And the question becomes, was she assaulted? And how did this altercation really go down, and who started it, et cetera, et cetera. So let me read some of these comments. We're going to go a little bit into overtime today after our little incident that we had this morning. And these are all coming from different kids. So I want to be very, very clear that this is not one child that is sending all these messages. These are different children. And keeping in mind that they are children, I'm also aware of the fact that their perspective is that of a child. Yes, they're 14, 15 years old, but they're not an adult. They don't have an adult understanding. But once again, that does not mean that their opinion and what they witness should be discounted, because some of them seem to be particularly aggrieved by what they saw. So let's just give me 1 second here. I'm just pulling some of these up. And like I said, a number of them reached out on Friday. I spent the weekend trying to figure out who was saying what and who was telling what. And so here we are now having the discussion. We've gotten some bruises, some pictures of the bruises that the young lady sustained as well. So here's what the kids had to say. Let me just pull up all their little messages here. And a number of them, like I said, contacted me immediately on Friday. So this one says, "Hi, hey CMR. I witnessed the incident that happened on Friday. I would also want this police officer to not be back in the school compound after this incident. People are feeling unsafe after police are supposed to protect and not be so harsh on high school students." And they put that in capital letters. "And arresting them over a phone. This is ridiculous and very unnecessary. The school is picking on children that have behavioral issues and chastising them instead of helping them." That's a very interesting comment. "They only worried about their behavior, about your behavior, and not how you've been. From my experience at this school, I've never gotten asked if I was struggling with any of my classes. I would also like to report that K9 was also there Thursday or Wednesday, searching people left, center. People without bags going into the canteen had to get searched. Mrs. Vassal was telling all students they can't get any breakfast without their bag. I have lost my breakfast time Because of this, my friends were getting searched also, and they were eating breakfast after teachers grabbed their bags. So I don't really understand the bag thing, to be honest. I'm a little bit confused by this. Sorry. What bag are we talking about? Why do you have to have a bag? They're saying that you have to walk around all the time with a school bag. See, I've actually never had a proper tour of any of these schools. Do the kids have school lockers? Do they put their bags and books in the school lockers? I mean, I need to understand the context of what this is, but let's pick sense from nonsense, right? Number one, listen to what this young person has said, that they don't feel, and again, don't discount their feelings just because they're young people. They're saying that they're feeling that they're picked on just because they have behavioral issues. So they're admitting that kids have behavioral issues and they're being chastised. But they said they're chastising us instead of helping us. And I'm curious to know, what kind of help do these kids need? How would they like for us? Child, is that the wind outside? How would they like for us to the wind has picked up, just in case you're wondering, as a result of that storm. But how would they like for us to help them? So these are some questions that school administrators, I believe, should be asking of the students and paying very, very close attention to. Okay, the whole thing with the bags in the canteen, like I said, I don't quite get what that's all about. But you need to, sorry, you need to talk to these young people, talk to the children at the schools. So not everything requires a heavy hand. Take it as someone who is mostly a disciplinarian, but I believe in positive, reinforcement. I believe in taking away things, taking away privileges, and not just being heavy-handed all the time. And different types of children require a different type of approach as well. So here's another one that came in Friday at 6:05 p.m. Who is this person in my yard making all this noise? I need to tell them I'm still showtime, folks. This person says, hey, CMR, good evening. Today at Clifton Hunter, there was an incident regarding a female student with her phone. A police officer asked for her phone and she refused to give it up. This resulted in the police officer tackling the student to the ground and arresting the student. May I ask why the school has taken the phone rules this far? Why are staff putting their hands on children? If you're to post this, please allow it to stay anonymous, as I don't want to get in any problems. So again, the question becomes, oh Lord, that's CUC outside cutting down a tree. All right, CUC, thank you for cutting trees, but the timing is a little bit off, but hopefully you guys don't hear too much of that. All right, so listen, I think that the school policy regarding phones, I'm glad that they've implemented, because we can see the trickle-down effect, especially with the schools, where what this has led to. But how are they confiscating the phones? Are they not doing a proper search at the point of entry to see if you have a phone? This is where you do it. As you come into school, you're passing security. Do our kids go through a little metal detector scanner? Maybe they need a cell phone scanner. Leave all phones at home. Parents, if you know that Clifton Hunter has a no phone policy, you need to be part of enforcing that as well. Before your child walks out of if you're dropping them off, before they walk out of the car, before they walk out the front door to get on the bus, honey, do you have your phone? Put it on the counter so I can see it. Leave your phones at home. Better yet, I don't know why some of y'all giving these kids phones to begin with. Lock it in a phone locker. You can get these little devices off of Amazon that makes it super easy to lock your phones. No phones during the school week. Phones are a weekend privilege. As parents, we need to step it up. We need to do better. Here's another one. Hey, Sandra, I witnessed the incident on Friday also. Please help the police officer get fired or sued. This is a child who can get breast cancer. I think we read this one before. After what police officer Tamara did. I think her name is Tamara. That child never gave in her phone, and all of a sudden, this is what they have going on. Everyone needs to know the truth of what goes on in Clifton Hunter and stop making it seem like it's a good school. The government needs to make everyone that goes to the school write up everything they have witnessed and been through at this school. It's time for the truth to come out. I would like to stay anonymous and posted. Thanks. So there is this general consensus with some of these kids in any event that the school has issues. And that somehow it's being covered up. They're saying that people think it's a good school. Now, it can be an academically good school, and still that does not mean that everything's perfect. Here was another one that came in Friday at 2:43 p.m. This is one of the earliest ones that we received. This person said, "Good afternoon. I'm a student currently attending Clifton Hunter High School. I am currently feeling unsafe in my school because of an incident that occurred today. A female police officer tripped another student to the ground and pushed her face on the concrete just because she didn't hand over her cell phone. In my opinion, this incident should have been handled with teachers being informed, and authorities should not get physical with a student unless the student acts violently." Again, this is what the eyewitnesses are claiming that may have happened. Here's another one. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra. Sorry to call back to summertime.
Listen, I think that your son is the one that we announced earlier that we have his driver's license. Can you find out if he's lost his wallet?
Ricardo Goff?
Yes. We found the wallet. We announced it earlier.
So that's my husband. Let me try and get in contact with where's your office?
No, I'm gonna send you you WhatsApp me and I'm gonna tell you where he can go and collect it.
Okay, sure. No, so send it to the same number here?
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Okay, calling regarding the incident with the officer that was charged a few weeks ago about perverting the court of justice. I can't remember his last name now. What is the status?
The one that we were not supposed to name.
The one that he was named in court. He was found guilty.
No. This one has been charged. This is the one that's mixed up in the murder in West Bay, threatening the witness.
Yeah.
No, he hasn't been found. He hasn't been found guilty yet. He has now been formally charged. Right.
Charged for the court.
Yes.
So
now he has to go to trial. And
I guess we'll have to wait and find out exactly what the status of it, because in my opinion, if he was on suspension, I don't know how theirs go, but I know when you get suspended, you're actually on half pay.
Oh no, they're getting full pay when they suspended, honey.
Well, that's even better yet. But in my opinion, that if he's found guilty of that charge, he should have to repay him an Irish government for the time that he was off collecting a salary. Maybe we need to call on Mr. Saunders, who is our treasurer, in charge of finance, to find out how he's going to recuperate that money that we have paid him now. So maybe you can throw that out there, see what opinions and get on that, because in my opinion, he should have end of them. We had the prison officers who were bringing in the guns, they were charged. I don't know what came out of all those officers. Don't care where they're from.
Unfortunately, we don't get any money back. Yeah, we don't get any money back from them. We only get back. But they put them in jail with freedom.
But if they win their case, then we still got to repair them. When they win their cases, then we still got to repair. We got to pay them when they get right. But when they're wrong, they don't have to pay none for it. Sounds like a perfect plan.
I know. All right, honey. Message me. We'll tell you where to go collect that wallet. All right, my dear.
No problem. Bye.
So here's the funny thing about police and this. The Grand Court put a gag order in place where he couldn't be named during the trial. The trial is now over, so we're like, well, what's the point? Now we can name him. Plus, he's on the cause list. Doesn't take a genius to go look at the cause list, which is a public document on the public judicial website. But anyway, the summary court, which is where he starts his journey, and then it'll be elevated to Grand Court, I'm sure. also reiterated that he should not be named. Let me just say this. We took the story down because, of course, we want to be respectful of the court orders because we ourselves couldn't have restrictions put in place. And, you know, they could limit our access to court. And y'all know we the only ones bringing you what's really going on in court. So we don't want that to happen. However, let me tell you this. One of the reasons why it is important at the earliest possible stages for you to know who these people are is because months later, a year later, when the court goes, oh, he's a police officer, he might not get a fair trial. We don't want people to know his name. And they put a gag order in place at that time. Well, it's a little bit too late. He's already named on the website. Just like the one yesterday who was arrested on October the 7th. No press release came out from the RCIPS about it. Interesting. I had to hear it on the street from other people and had to email them directly and say, have you arrested a police officer in the last couple months, last couple weeks? And then they said, oh yes, a 30-year-old police officer who was still on probation has been arrested, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I'm asking you because I already know. I just want you to actually confirm it. Yeah? Taking money from people for one purpose, and only God knows what he was doing with the money. Well, you know, Cayman, honey child, people are sending me all the sus when they saw the story. A lot of y'all were in disbelief. Somebody said, oh, but his girlfriend just went to this body, what it calls it again? This body, oh Lord, hold on, Hannah. Let me have a look. Designer body. Oh, that's the latest thing. It's like the designer body, the Spanish people do it all the time, and the Caribbean people a little bit late to the show. So now they're all about the designer bodies. And this person's like, that's a $15,000, $20,000 salary. When you're here in minimum wage, where you getting that kind of money from? You probably pressuring the little boyfriend to go out there and steal from people, but he is an officer of the law. He should know better. We're going to name them way before they get to court so that you know exactly who they are. And when they get to court and then they put, no, you can't name them. Now the court is, okay, they're already named, honey, chill. Take that. Jonathan says maybe you need to make a separate lost and found page. Jonathan, where have you been? I think you're smoking too much of that weed now. Lord have mercy, Jonathan. Hold on. Whoa. Let me pull up some music. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I need a break. Sorry. Oh my goodness, how to get me another Washington. For the record, everybody, we have already done that. It's called CMR Community. Go and look on CMR Cayman on Facebook, and you'll see the community page. Over 1,000 followers already. And that is where we will post all of the lost and found stuff, because we do get a lot of lost and found items. So you'll be able to find it there. That's where it's at. Thank you, Jonathan, for the suggestion. It has already been done. All right. As a matter of fact, let me just put it here in case you've not yet found the page in the comment section. Go and like the page. Jonathan says, keep calling me names and you got choke some more. Nope, it doesn't have anything to do with that, Jonathan. I know you wish you had that kind of power, but oh, I need to go take another algae tablet, Jonathan. That's what it is. All right. Anyway, go and like the page. All right. Everything lost and found. A woman lost something on the bus. This woman actually gave somebody a ride from Northside, and she was at the Northside gas station going to Frank Sound, and she said she was eventually going to East End, and she has an Alcatel modem, one of the portable ones, with a number on it, 550-7628. If you know who this person is, it looks like they might live in East End that have lost their little internet modem. Let them know that it has been found. This is all posted on the community page. So that's been found, cameras, keys, everything. Go and have a look. All right, listen. What I think needs to happen with this situation with the school with Clifton Hunter is a proper investigation has to be carried out. You and I are certainly entitled to our opinions. That's fine. But at the end of the day, the school needs to carry out a proper investigation. The police, an independent arm of the police, probably the ombudsman's office, they're not an arm of the police, but independent. They also need to carry out an investigation, get statements from people. If camera footage is available, hurry up and get it before it's erased, child. And this is what needs to happen. So someone says at Clifton Hunter, the cameras aren't everywhere. No, there's no lockers at the school. Children walk with their book bags, and the policy is staff confiscates the phones when they see it. So they don't check them. There's not like a check-in point where you do that first. First offense, parents can collect the phone at the end of the day. Second offense, parents can collect the phone at the end of the term. And third offense, the parents collect the phone at the end of the academic year. Anyone who refuses to hand over their phone gets suspended. Listen, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at having a very strict no phone policy because I've told you all this before. The phones are encouraging the kind of, egregious behavior.
What?
Look at these young girls, fighting with students, being pushed in the classroom, being pushed down. Look at that young lady just fell down the ground. Hey, look. Looking at the student, at the teacher. That is what we're going to become. Teachers. Each other. Students. Look, he pushed her down. But I mean, in a situation like this, where you have 3-4 kids, attacking a single teacher, they even have the grills on the school doors. I'm gonna lock and keep them inside. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Completely blame. We don't see how this all got started, but can I entirely blame the teachers here? No, because y'all are raising some hooligans. Now I tell you, I could not be a teacher in these schools. It's not fair to expect teachers to be nuns and to exercise, complete control when your children themselves don't have any. At some point, they're going to roll up on the wrong teacher, and the teacher, like you see there, is going to knock them the hell out. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, we need teachers who understand how to diffuse a situation where hopefully it does not even get to this point to begin with. This is a horrible sight, folks, to see teachers and police officers fighting with students. Yeah? This is, how the hell are they learning? How can they be learning anything when they're in school fighting each other, fighting the teachers, fighting the police? Learning is obviously not even secondary. It's all the way down the totem pole. The solution is, as most things, multifaceted. Teachers, parents, first and foremost, and the students have to be part of the conversation. I'm going to read a few of your messages, and then we're going to go to the news. So Jonathan says bruising and swelling can occur when the handcuffs go on. Believe me, I know. Karen says true too, but we need more facilities to accommodate the children. This will allow the system to provide them with treatment that they need. Yes, that is true. All of that. Miss Melita says, Sandy, isn't the lady Miss Gwen's son that called in and spoke to the premier about her son's situation about being a doctor? Well, I don't know how many sons she has. She might have more than one son. But yes, that was the same caller, but I don't know how many children she got. So Ruby says police officers should be trained to de-escalate the situation. Absolutely. And de-escalating an adult situation versus children, I think, are two very different sets of skill set. Yeah? JD, good morning. JD says at most they'll get a verbal reprimand. The ombudsman takes the police side and dismisses valid complaints. Zero accountability. Their purpose is to find this, doing wrong, but can never admit their own wrongdoing. Honey, chill. JD, that's a powerful statement about how people feel about the police in particular. No bueno. I hope the police is listening this morning, because when you rely on the community to help you solve crimes, you don't need them feeling that way. Ruby says, why are they taking phones off of kids and force them to have them kept in bags? But they shouldn't be taking them off the kids. They shouldn't be bringing the phones to school at all. I don't understand the whole bags thing. I think they're not supposed to have them at all. So I don't think the bags comment was really related to that. But you need a bag to get into the canteen. I don't know what that's all about. Moya says the reality is, even when it comes to incidents with police, when the police are in the wrong, they go out and they go out the way to cover it up. And even when it ends up in court, it finds the officers in the wrong, nothing is done. And there are no consequences. Even after you report to the ombudsman's office, nothing comes of it. They need to bring someone in from the UK to go through all these complaints on police officers in the past 10 years. If this is what they're doing in the schools with phones, imagine. And I can tell you as well, to Moya's point, that I have even seen police officers take the witness stand in court and lie, bold-faced lies, and nothing happens. Real Deal, good morning, says, when will Caymanians finally get it in their heads that these people who are hired from these third world countries are only here for the money? How much more do we need to see? Wake up. Well, ironically, Real Deal is the young lady involved in this. The police officer is actually Caymanian. So, not saying that you may not have a point, but in this case, as relates to the child. Now, the theft and deception, that other officer, he happens to be from Jamaica. Ruby says, in the UK, teachers can't go through kids' bags and they can't take their phones off them either. Well, this ain't the UK, honey child. But I'm in support of a no phone policy, but I think they need to do a checkpoint at the point of entry. Gabby says, exactly, not everyone can be a police officer. Just like now, not everyone can be a teacher. Neither one of those jobs are for me. Aliano's asking about the Wellies cool spot incident. No updates. I haven't heard a single word, actually. But I tell you what, I'm going to follow up with the police and see what is going on there. And listen, I'm not trying to pick on the police, because I actually really do not envy them, because they have a very tough job. They are in, talk about stress, they are in one of the most stressful jobs. They're out there dealing with hardcore criminals who may not be that 15-year-old child. It may not be me and you, but they still are dealing with hardcore criminals. So they are oftentimes in a hyper state of being, if that's the right word that I'm looking for, but it really isn't, but they're constantly in a hyper state. That is why police chases make no sense. They're one of the worst things in the world. Because when a police chase happens, it is difficult once the chase has started to de-escalate that situation. It is near impossible. Research has shown it is not as easy as people think. People are like, well, why doesn't the police just stop chasing him? Or why doesn't he stop running? Because adrenaline in a crazy situation like that will make you do things that ordinarily you would not do if you had to think about it. Sorry. Moya says, girl, these children need proper parents. You know, yours and mine could never. Child. You know, people have to learn to respect authority. Children have to learn it from a very, very early age. You don't talk back to authority. Now, that doesn't mean just because someone is in a position of authority that they can abuse you and mistreat you either. There's a balance to a lot of these things. But there's a way, as a young person, for you to also deal with those types of situations. Moveen says that you have to be gifted to be a teacher. It's not all about going to university. They are different ways of dealing with students from different environments. Just as how you have to love and care for people in order to be a nurse, it's not all about going to university. You have to be passionate about the career path you're taking, and it's not all about the money. I completely agree. And not everyone, even if you are passionate about teaching, you love teaching, you may find that the environment that you're in with these children just isn't suitable for you, and it's just not going to work for you. You may want to go to a private school that has more controls in place, where they can eject and permanently suspend the bad seeds. See, that's the difference with private school, you know. Private school can pick, choose, and refuse who they're going to let in. And so by the very mechanism of how they admit students, they can control a lot of what's coming into them. Think about it. Sonia says, Sony, sorry, says it's a reason why authority is searching school bags. And listen, we know all about the drugs. We know about the marijuana brownies and the this and that and whatever. And at the end of the day, if they have to be checking bags for those things to be curtailed, go right ahead. Your children should not be taking drugs. They shouldn't be using drugs. And they certainly should not be taking drugs to school. And we've seen other instances of where it has happened that they've taken these drugs to school and made children sick. Yeah. And y'all talking about cannabis can't kill you. Keep it up when you have a particular age and you've overindulged. Sandra Miller says no one of authority will just grab a child after asking them to submit their phone. Just give the phone, end of it. Rules are rules. Perla says always remember, sorry, that at work we have rules, regulations, and policies to follow. But the police, K9, etc., should control their actions and use full force if the person has a weapon, guns, etc. Where necessary, disorderly behavior is one of them. Common sense is seriously lacking. And again, I think it's easy for us to be on the outside looking in and saying what each party should and shouldn't do. But when you're in that situation, I can tell you that probably requires a lot more constraint. So Gabby says, the way I see it, your child puts their hands on me in the matter, the bad little S is going to get it back. All right, folks. We'll keep you guys updated. Sandra says, no phone is no phone. Take the phone, and at the end of the year, give the phone back. So, folks, it is what it is. You know that if your school has a no phone policy, then they have a no phone policy. I think parents need to ensure that that is being enforced. Listen, I don't know what kind of parenting going on these days, you know. Back in the day, my Aunt Lottie, you couldn't pull nothing over her eyes. I used to see a young lady come to school in a particular outfit. I didn't go to school, private school in the States, and we had regular clothes that we wore. We didn't wear uniforms or anything, right? So public schools, you wear regular clothing. And her mom would always force her to wear dresses. And I think she was even at that young age in high school, she was obviously a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And she didn't want to be wearing no dresses, and her mom would force her to wear dresses. Child, she put a change of clothes in her backpack, and as we got on the bus, she was taking off her clothes and changing in what she wanted to wear. Now, that's a minor example. Your children should have some autonomy in what the clothing that they wear. And it wasn't that it was inappropriate. It was just different than what her mom, she was not into the girly stuff and the frills and whatever. And she was not, that's not me. She's more of a tomboy. And I used to look at her and think, oh man, I couldn't do that. Aunt Lottie would be on top of me like white on rice. I gotta go and change clothes and all of a sudden put on earrings if I never had earrings. Ooh, now you'd get something from Aunt Lottie, all right. And it wouldn't have been pretty. But I do feel like parents don't have the same degree of control that they used to have. Checking the backpacks. It's just, they are your children, even if they're 14, 15 years old. Yes, children are going to try stuff. They're going to sneak stuff. I got a 6-year-old sneaking candy all the time. I hear the wrappings. I know she's sneaking in her room. You got to do your part as parents as well. We'll keep an eye out on this. Obviously, the parents are upset that the child has been injured. It is what it is. This person says, I think bags or backpacks, I agree. Check them. Check should be made at point of entry. And yes. All right, folks. This person says, mention it again about the wallet. She's online now. Okay. Sandra, this is half of where this behavior comes from. A yard, Jamaica. They're so violent over there. Each child knows what they want, but some of them don't. And someone also says that Gwendolyn Goff has 3 sons, for the record. But it could be her ex-husband, whose name is Richard, or that what we knew him by. But she said her husband's wallet, and he left her maybe 30 years ago. Y'all all up into people business, honey. Ciao. Y'all know everything about everybody. Yes, sir. This person says, good morning, Miss Sandy. I'm amazed as to how these criminals are getting jobs in Cayman. Who is doing the due diligence in KYC? We need to get a proper department of people who has Cayman at heart and not people who are hiring the criminals from their countries to give them jobs. We need to get this department investigated. Thanks and have a great day. All right. Well, another person says, I feel I have the personality for it and kids actually look up to me, says one person. Feel that they can deal with these kids in schools. Listen, nobody is, these jobs are not easy. Let's just put it that way. All right, folks, stay tuned for the news. You guys have a wonderful day. Please be safe. And tomorrow is Wednesday. I think we might have some guests coming on. Definitely on Thursday. We're going to have Recover the first Thursday every month. They join us. And yeah, you guys be safe.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. Probationary police officer Andrew Benjamin was arrested early in October in relation to theft and deception-related offenses and is currently on police bail pending further investigations. Cayman Mall Road sources revealed that the 30-year-old took more than US $20,000 from elderly lady to send to Jamaica on her behalf. However, the money has not made it to Jamaica. The Russian government has added the Cayman Islands and 10 other British overseas territories to its unfriendly countries list. Previously, the list included only 3 British-controlled territories, but now they've expanded to 11 more British overseas territories that supported the sanctions imposed by the UK on Russia. Police have now issued a statement on MP Dwayne John Seymour's vehicle crash. According to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, there was no suspicion that the driver of the vehicle was intoxicated, therefore no arrests were made. MP Seymour crashed his vehicle into a CUC pole on Hurley Marin Boulevard just after 10:30 Friday night. He told CMR he was leaving his office and was exhausted. He wasn't injured in the crash. The Cayman Islands Customs and Border Control Service confirms that a vessel with 3 male migrants arrived in Cayman Brac last Wednesday, and then on Thursday another vessel with 13 men and 1 woman, for a total of 14 migrants, arrived. 3 of the migrants arriving on Thursday showed signs of dehydration and upon arriving to shore were met by Health Services Authority and treated. Then on Friday another vessel arrived in Cayman Brac with 9 men, and on Saturday 2 men were found on shore in East End. All 28 migrants will be processed in accordance by CBC. 2 important pieces of legislation aimed at improving and strengthening the mental health services in the Cayman Islands have recently been gazetted. The Mental Health Amendment Act 2022 clarifies the procedure relating to emergency detention orders, provides for orders for protective custody, and provides for restrictions to post and electronic networks by patients, among other things. The Mental Health Commission Amendment Act 2022, which is the second legislation gazetted, provides the Mental Health Commission the ability to hear and determine appeals against restrictions imposed in respect to access to postal packets and electronic networks by patients. 11+ Women Who Care Cayman Islands will be hosting its last event of 2022 in the Sculpture Gardens of the National Gallery on Thursday, with 3 charities vying for the chance to walk away with 100% of the donations. After 2 successful events, the post-pandemic relaunch in May and another successful in-person event in August, the Giving Circle will be closing out the year with 1 more event at the lofty target of making an even bigger impact within the Cayman community. After a COVID-enforced hiatus, the Cayman Islands Tourism Association has announced that Taste of Cayman will be held on May 13th. Jay Earhart, Executive Director of CETA, said, "From the very first chili cook-off event in 1986, Taste of Cayman has continued to grow and is now firmly a Cayman institution. Attendees can look forward to old favorites and some new surprises planned for next year." Now for your CMR weather update, it's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:26. It will be windy with some scattered thunderstorms. Now the winds will be east at 20 to 30 miles per hour and the sun sets at 5:51. Looking forward, by Thursday, the usual conditions of hot days, warm nights with the possibility of brief showers will be back. CMR weather updates are brought to you by WG Charters. They offer private boat trips for a great price, and we encourage you to support them.
Stormwatch 2022 is brought to you by Home Gas, your propane experts before, during, and after the storm.
Tropical Storm Lisa is heading for Central America, is expected to become a hurricane before landfall Wednesday night. Now, Belize is likely where Lisa will make landfall, but there is a chance it could make landfall in Honduras, Guatemala, or Mexico. Now for some regional and international news. Jamaica's Ministry of Health and Wellness says, with immediate effect, children 12 years old and younger can receive free medical care at the University Hospital of the West Indies. The new arrangement is in response to the upsurge in viral illnesses and the resulting overcrowding at the Bustamante Hospital for children. These viral illnesses are common this time of year. A journalist died Sunday in Haiti after getting seriously injured when chaos broke out at a police substation in Port-au-Prince and he was hit in the head with a police tear gas canister, a Haitian Journalists Association confirmed. The Association of Haitian Journalists said several journalists were injured when police fired tear gas when they gathered at the Delmas 33 police substation to demand the release of an arrested colleague. At least 153 people are dead and 82 are injured after being crushed in a crowd during Halloween festivities in Seoul, officials in South Korea said, as the death toll in the tragedy continues to rise. The victims are largely in their 20s, according to the National Fire Agency. 2 Americans were among the 19 foreign nationals who died. That's it for now on A Daily Buzz. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.